Chapter 3970. This wasn't the first time Kong Shinmu had experienced the pain of having his dragon tail severed. However, no matter how many times he experienced it, he could still feel the pain that seemed to come from the depths of his soul. It was just that he gritted his teeth and endured it. It was also at this time that the bloodline in his body seemed to be awakening. His devouring talent power instantly boiled, as though it was about to break out of his body. After losing his dragon tail, he couldn't even maintain his balance while flying. But at this time, while Meng Chong was heaving a sigh of relief, Kong Shinmu's body flickered with a golden light. The heavenly saint's halberd turned into a pair of golden wings, carrying him toward Meng Chong in an instant. Meng Chong couldn't dodge in time, and Kong Shinmu's dragon claw grabbed onto the light-colored tornado dragon's body. Then, the shadow dragon fang transformation burst out. Countless shadow dragon fangs swept out, and in an instant, they bombarded Meng Chong's weakest point, his abdomen, tearing a hole in his abdomen. Wind God's protection force. Meng Chong was the first to react. Even though he had just severed Kong Shinmu's dragon tail, he still maintained his vigilance. It was just that he didn't expect Kong Shinmu to immediately counterattack after his tail was severed, causing him to be caught off guard. But he reacted quickly, and a tornado talent power instantly condensed around the wound on his abdomen, forming a nimble yet powerful defensive tornado barrier. Kong Shinmu's devouring power failed to corrode his opponent's body because his opponent's reaction was too fast. Meng Chong's dragon claw grabbed onto Meng Chong's dragon body. Blood flowed continuously from the wound where his tail was severed, but he didn't care at all. The golden light from the heavenly saint's halberd continued to condense into a sharp halberd, and along with the shadow dragon fang transformation, he continued to fiercely attack Meng Chong. Courting death. Meng Chong was enraged. He originally thought that Kong Shinmu would admit defeat after his tail was severed. Otherwise, wouldn't he be disregarding his own life? But he didn't expect that Kong Shinmu would actually attack him without any regard for his own life. This made him feel incredulous. Did this kid really not want his life? Heart-devouring meridian-breaking wind kill. Meng Chong did not have the slightest hint of mercy. The divine dragon that he had transformed into let out a furious roar, and a strong gust of wind gathered beside him. Once again, it formed a formless and terrifying wind blade that swept towards Jiang Shenwu's pitch-black divine dragon's heart. If Kong Shinmu did not dodge, this attack would have taken Kong Shinmu's life. On the other hand, if Kong Shinmu dodged, he would definitely not be able to hold onto Meng Chong's body anymore. Without his dragon tail, he would lose his balance and gradually fall to the ground. At that time, the outcome of the battle would be decided. However, Kong Shinmu's determination was beyond his expectations. Now is the time to break through. From the moment his dragon tail was chopped off, Kong Shinmu felt some changes in his aura. His talent seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough, but in the end, he still lacked that little bit of pressure. Now, in the face of his opponent's killing move, Kong Shinmu knew that if he could not withstand this move, he would die. The devouring power in his body boiled in the entire body of the black dragon, causing his entire divine dragon aura to suddenly erupt. When he was in the first tier of the god martial arts realm, Kong Shinmu's devouring power had increased to a certain extent. Now, he had finally broken through again. After a series of difficult battles in the arena of life and death, coupled with the pressure from the powerful Meng Chong, he faced difficulties head-on. The consciousness of the black dragon hiding in his body now seemed to be giving him a little help, making his breakthrough even smoother. Immediately after, the purple magic crystal on his body integrated with the devouring power, tightly wrapping his entire divine dragon body. After the breakthrough, the black dragon's aura suddenly soared, and even Meng Chong was shocked. The invisible wind blade condensed by the devouring heart, breaking veins, breaking wind, and killing dragon, fell on the purple magic crystal that covered Kong Shinmu's body in an instant, and a large part of its power was actually swallowed by the devouring power contained in it, directly reducing its lethality by half. At the same time, the purple magic crystal completely swallowed half of the power, and finally condensed into a layer of purple magic crystal again, absorbing the remaining destructive power of his opponent's dragon martial arts, unexpectedly not hurting Kong Shinmu at all. Although it was only an upgrade from the first to the second tier of the god martial arts realm, Kong Shinmu's talent, the devouring power, directly increased by at least a fold, making him feel like he was facing Ji Yefeng, who was in the third tier of the god martial arts realm, when he faced Meng Chong. Even though his dragon tail was broken, he now had enough confidence to defeat his opponent. Shadow Dragon Teeth Transformation. Kong Shinmu finally condensed all the devouring power in his body, and darkness emerged, turning into a dark mass of shadow dragon teeth, pouring down on the tornado dragon that he firmly held. Wind God Protection Force. Meng Chong realized that now Kong Shinmu was in the stage of eruption, and felt that his aura suddenly became stronger. It was very likely that he had broken through the cultivation realm, which made his heart tremble. A translucent barrier condensed by the power of the tornado instantly condensed, blocking in front of Kong Shinmu's shadow dragon teeth transformation. However, the power contained in these shadow dragon teeth was the devouring power, which had extremely strong penetrating power, and could also devour a part of the opponent's defensive power, using it to enhance its own lethality. Although Kong Shinmu's cultivation realm had only increased by 1 tier, the strengthening of the devouring power made him completely different from before. The power that erupted from the shadow dragon teeth transformation was at least twice as strong as before. At this moment, the shadow dragon teeth poured down like a torrential rain, quickly smashing the opponent's wind god protection barrier, and then falling on the opponent's body of the tornado dragon. Meng Chong immediately screamed in pain. His entire body of the divine dragon began to be covered with wounds, and the damage caused by the shadow dragon teeth transformation was not light. The tornado power around his body continued to roar and wreak havoc, forming a terrifying tornado hurricane, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not drive Kong Shinmu away from his body. Furthermore, as Kong Shinmu's devouring power invaded his body, and started to devour his flesh and life essence, Kong Shinmu's severed dragon tail actually began to regenerate, and the devouring power's healing power showed a terrifying effect at this time. This kind of talent is really too terrifying. Many of the dragon martial artists in the spectator stands were already dumbfounded. Seeing that Kong Shinmu's condition was getting better and better, and Meng Chong's aura was getting weaker and weaker, they knew that Kong Shinmu had once again won this battle. No matter how many people thought that Kong Shinmu would definitely lose, but reality proved that even if Kong Shinmu was at an absolute disadvantage at the beginning, there was a possibility that he could turn defeat into victory in the end. Chapter 3971. I admit defeat. When Meng Chong was continuously attacked by Kong Shinmu, he knew that he had no way to change the outcome of this battle. His tornado attacks were no longer a threat to Kong Shinmu. Even without the Heavenly Saint's halberd, it was impossible for him to be injured by Meng Chong. After Meng Chong admitted defeat, this battle was considered as Kong Shinmu's victory. All the dragon martial artists in the spectator stand exclaimed in admiration. This was the first battle of the top 5. When everyone thought that Kong Shinmu would not be able to win, he actually forcefully broke everyone's guesses. Under the situation where his dragon tail was chopped off, he was still able to turn defeat into victory. This kind of willpower was simply too terrifying. Just the pain of a dragon tail being chopped off was unimaginable. Not only could Kong Shinmu endure this pain, but he was also able to obtain a new lease of life in such a hopeless situation. This kind of willpower was simply terrifying. Many people began to change their opinion of Kong Shinmu. Even if Kong Shinmu lost every battle, just by winning this battle, he had already made people look at him in a new light. Of course, changing their opinion was one thing. No matter what, no one would feel that Kong Shinmu's strength was that strong. After all, Meng Chong's strength was originally ordinary. Compared to the other contestants in the finals, he was definitely weaker. I actually lost. Meng Chong, who was carried back, returned to his human form. He was quite depressed about this result. He originally wanted to defeat Kong Shinmu to prove his strength, and then fight against Meng Chong. But now, it seemed that he couldn't even defeat Kong Shinmu, let alone Meng Chong. You are too weak. After he came back, Meng Chong said indifferently to him. He was very disappointed that his cousin actually lost to that Kong Shinmu. This was something that he had never thought of. It should be noted that Kong Shinmu was only at the first level of the God Martial Arts realm. He was able to break through to the second level of the God Martial Arts realm because Meng Chong didn't give Kong Shinmu a fatal blow. Kong Shinmu had previously forfeited against Zhang Feng. With Meng Chong's loss, it made it seem like the Meng tribal clan was inferior to the Zhang tribal clan. In fact, the Meng tribal clan's overall strength was much stronger than the Zhang tribal clan. Of course, the Zhang tribal clan had fewer people, but they had more geniuses. Hence, every clan tournament gave the Meng tribal clan a lot of pressure. This made the competition between the Meng tribal clan and the Zhang tribal clan very intense. This time, Meng Chao's goal was to defeat Zhang Feng and obtain first place, extending the authority of the Meng tribal clan. As for Kong Xinmu, he was not even in Meng Chao's eyes. I didn't expect him to break through at the last minute. Meng Chong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and barely managed to sit in the spectator stands. He looked coldly at Kong Xinmu on the other side, looking very unconvinced. But regardless of whether he was convinced or not, he had already lost to Kong Xinmu. This outcome could not be changed. For Meng Chong, what he needed to do now was to have a good rest and quickly consume some healing elixirs to quickly recover from his injuries. He still had 3 more matches, against Meng Chou, Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan. Although he felt that the chances of defeating Meng Chou were slim, it was a rare opportunity. He couldn't just give up without fighting. Wait for me to avenge you. Meng Chou smiled faintly. He was disdainful of Meng Chong's fighting spirit. He never thought that he would lose to Meng Chong, even if he was his cousin. He had never treated him as an opponent, because the strength he concealed was just too strong. With the battle strength that Meng Chong had just displayed, he would be defeated in a few seconds. You be careful. That Kong Xinmu has a strange talent. Meng Chong couldn't help but remind him. I'm not you. To deal with such a trash, do I have to use my full strength? Meng Chou snorted coldly. He did not put Kong Xinmu in his eyes at all. The next match was between Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan. Everyone was paying close attention to this match, because it was difficult to determine the winner between the two. Most people thought that Zhang Feng was stronger, but Ji Yuan was the strongest dragon-awakened warrior in the Ji tribe in the past 3 years. She was not to be underestimated. The Ji tribe had a rare genius, Ji Yeshuan. This girl definitely had some unique insights in certain aspects of cultivation. With her guidance, Ji Yuan's progress in cultivation would not be too slow. Anyway, in the previous matches, whether it was Zhang Feng or Ji Yuan, they had not shown their true strength. This made the crowd even more curious about their strengths. After Kong Xinmu left the stage, he was looking forward to the strength of both Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan. Previously, he did not know the exact strength of the two, so now that he was carefully observing them, it would be of great help to him in the following matches. Before the start of the clan tournament, everyone predicted that Meng Chou and Zhang Feng would be the strongest 2 out of everyone. But until now, Meng Chou, Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan had not shown their strongest strength, so no one knew who was stronger and who was weaker. Jiang Yuaning sat beside Kong Xinmu. She curiously asked Kong Xinmu, who do you think will win? Kong Xinmu squinted his eyes. His dragon tail had just been cut off, but with the help of his devouring power and the precious healing pills provided by the officials after returning to the spectator stands, his injuries had almost recovered. Moreover, he had secretly swallowed a demon core provided by the Shi clan, which allowed his injuries to recover even faster. I feel that Ji Yuan has a higher chance of winning. Kong Xinmu made a guess. He was not making a wild guess, but a judgment based on the expressions of both parties. Zhang Feng's eyes were filled with confidence and a sense of superiority, giving people the feeling that he would definitely win. However, there was only one expression in Ji Yuan's eyes: calmness. This kind of gaze contained a deeper level of self-confidence. He had sufficient confidence in his own strength, but he was not blindly arrogant. It could be seen that even when facing Zhang Feng, Ji Yuan was not afraid at all. Even his heart did not waver at all. To be able to reach the finals with undefeated victories and become one of the top 5 in the clan tournament, Ji Yuan's strength could be imagined. Even if he was slightly weaker than Zhang Feng, his mentality was more likely to win than Zhang Feng. After all, at a time like this, when both parties' strengths were about the same, mentality could easily affect the final outcome. Are you joking? Everyone agrees that Zhang Feng and Meng Chou are the strongest in this year's clan tournament. Ji Yuan is definitely not his match. Jiang Fengqing, who was at the side, could not help but mock and ridicule. The other people nearby also cast their gazes over. They were not optimistic about Kong Xinmu's guess. Basically, there were very few people in the arena who would think that Ji Yuan would be able to defeat Zhang Feng like Kong Xinmu. There's no point in guessing now. In any case, the result will be out soon. Chapter 3972. When Kong Xinmu and the others had made their guesses about the battle between Ji Yuan and Zhang Feng finally began. Countless people were nervously watching the arena. This battle was very likely to affect the final winner of first place. No matter which clan it was, they were all waiting for this battle. Even the many Dragon Prison City Holy Dragon experts, who had never been interested in the clan martial competition, were now a little interested. No matter what, Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan could be considered to be the cream of the crop in this clan martial competition, and they would soon become Kong Xinmu's opponents. Everyone in the Shi clan estate was paying special attention to this battle. They hoped that one of Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan would be heavily injured, or even both of them would be heavily injured. If that was the case, Kong Xinmu would have the upper hand in the following battles, and only Meng Chou would be left as his opponent. To the people of the Shi clan estate, there was no doubt that the better Kong Xinmu performed, the greater their benefits would be. Whether it was the Holy Dragon Shi Tao or the others, they all wanted to see Kong Xinmu perform outstandingly. After all, Kong Xinmu could be considered a part of the Shi clan estate. The battle between Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan quickly began. Both sides transformed into enormous dragons with astonishing might, soaring into the sky above the arena. The former was the power of the spiritual fire, while the latter was the power of the stars. They collided violently in the arena. When it came to the battle of the top 5, both Ji Yuan and Zhang Feng had no choice but to bring out their full strength. The outcome of every battle would affect the final rankings. In fact, as long as they lost one match, it was very likely that they would not be able to become the champion. The power of the spiritual fire was wild and violent, engulfing the entire arena. The power of the stars was agile and elegant, aiming at the flaws in Zhang Feng's power, and continuously and easily defeating his attacks. Both sides exchanged blows, continuously using the 4th grade dragon martial skill that they had comprehended to the dragon level. Explosive energy continuously exploded in the arena. Spiritual fire moves the universe. Zhang Feng coldly snorted, and the entire arena continuously erupted with light blue violent flames, surging towards Ji Yuan from all directions. Ji Yuan remained calm and unperturbed, her expression unchanged. She raised her hand, and the profound and ancient star energy exploded like a star, gushing out like a tidal wave. Both sides burst out their strength at almost the same time. They both used the powerful dragon martial techniques that they had comprehended to the dragon grade. A strong shockwave engulfed the entire arena, shocking the entire dueling ring. In the next moment, 2 enormous dragons rolled out from the wave of air. One was the spiritual fire dragon, and the other was the star dragon. Each of them emitted a dazzling light that intimidated the entire audience. After the 2 of them exchanged blows, it was hard to tell who was stronger. However, Zhang Feng's expression was cold, as if he still didn't see Ji Yuan as a threat. Ji Yuan, on the other hand, was calm and collected, with a serious look in his eyes. Although neither of them had gained the upper hand in the clash just now, he seemed to have more confidence in himself. "If this is all you've got, then you're too weak," Ji Yuan said lightly. "Humph, I only used half of my strength. Do you think I need to use my full strength to deal with you?" Zhang Feng sneered, not minding Ji Yuan's words at all. "Really?" The corner of Ji Yuan's mouth curled up slightly. He seemed to have guessed how much power Zhang Feng had used, and based on this portion of power, he deduced that Zhang Feng was not his match. Both sides didn't have powerful weapons like the dragon-level dragon weapon, but they both had earth-level dragon weapon. Although they weren't as strong as the dragon-level dragon weapon, they still increased the strength of both sides by a lot, causing the entire battle to become the most intense one since the start of the clan martial competition. The power of the stars wreaked havoc in the arena like a storm, gradually suppressing the opponent's power of the spiritual fire. Zhang Feng's expression changed slightly. He sensed that Ji Yuan was increasing his strength, so he didn't hide it anymore. The terrifying power of the spiritual fire seemed as if it wanted to burn the entire martial arts practice grounds into ashes as it exploded out. However, as the power of his spiritual fire increased, Ji Yuan's power of the stars also increased. Immediately after, the power of the stars and the power of the spiritual fire wreaked havoc. No matter how much Zhang Feng increased his strength, Ji Yuan was able to quickly catch up and suppress Zhang Feng instead. Zhang Feng was furious in his heart. In the beginning, he had only used 50% of his strength, but now that he had increased it to 80%, he was actually still unable to do anything to Ji Yuan, causing him to start to feel nervous in his heart. Originally, he thought that suppressing Ji Yuan would be easy, but he didn't expect that Ji Yuan would be able to resist 80% of his strength. Let me see how long you can resist. Zhang Feng gathered his courage and directly pushed his strength to 90%. Combined with the 4th-grade dragon martial skill that he had comprehended, the power of the spiritual fire condensed into a 400 to 500 meter long fire dragon that pressed down heavily like a volcano. The spiritual fire roared, and the volcano pressed down, trapping the star divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into within a sea of flames. Just when everyone else thought that the star divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into was about to be engulfed by the sea of flames, a blade light condensed from the power of the star suddenly broke through, instantly piercing through the whistling spiritual fire. Without any fancy moves, the blade light with the power of the stars seemed to have split the sky and earth, splitting the entire sea of flames in half. Immediately after, the blade light with the power of the stars landed on the body of the spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into. Under the cover of the starlight, the fierce power of the spiritual fire seemed to be about to be extinguished, and the entire spiritual fire dragon became dim. Damn it! Zhang Feng shouted. Until now, he had to admit that Ji Yuan had the strength to fight him. If he didn't use his full strength, it was very likely that he would be suppressed by Ji Yuan just like that, and he wouldn't even be able to turn the tables. Therefore, in the next moment, the flames on the spiritual fire dragon exploded, forming countless spiritual fire dragons that were 400 to 500 meters long. In an instant, these spiritual fire dragons surged towards Ji Yuan from all directions, and the surging power of the spiritual fire caused the star divine dragon to be completely engulfed by the flames. Star Tomb of the God of God. At this moment, the star divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into let out an angry roar. Then, countless rays of starlight shot out from the arena. The rays of starlight seemed to contain an extremely terrifying power from ancient times, and actually condensed into starlight tombs, suppressing the enormous spiritual fire dragons in the arena one after another. The power of the spiritual fire that formed the spiritual fire dragons were all crushed and dispersed. In the end, a few starlight tombs formed a pentagram array, suppressing the spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into completely on the ground of the arena. The power of the spiritual fire on his body was completely buried and extinguished by the starlight, and he was in a sorry state. You've lost. After saying that, Ji Yuan calmly returned to her human form, turned around and walked towards the spectator area. This battle had come to an end. The spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into had lost all combat power, and was suppressed on the spot by the starlight tombs. The power of the spiritual fire in his body was completely sealed by the starlight, and he couldn't use it at all. The spiritual fire dragon that he had transformed into roared and struggled, but to no avail. Chapter 3973. Zhang Feng was saved by someone. In a short period of time, he would not be able to participate in the next battle, so the next battle would be between Ji Yuan and Meng Chong. When the result of Ji Yuan defeating Zhang Feng came out, the spectator stands were in an uproar. Almost no one had expected this result. In their opinion, Zhang Feng and Meng Chou were the two strongest people in this clan martial competition. No matter what, they wouldn't lose to anyone else. However, the result shocked everyone. Zhang Feng had actually lost to Ji Yuan. Kong Xinmu, you actually guessed correctly. Could it be that you know the exact strength of the two of them? Jiang Yuaning had a face full of surprise, but even Senior Shanglong who was present was unable to see it. It can only be said to be a coincidence. Kong Xinmu smiled, but did not say much. The guess he made just now was completely based on his intuition, and it might not be correct. He never thought that Ji Yuan would actually possess such a strong strength. I think it's also a coincidence, Jiang Fengqing said sourly from the side. She had just said that it was impossible for Ji Yuan to defeat Zhang Feng, but in the end, the truth slapped her in the face, causing her expression to be especially unsightly. The main reason was that she had made a fool of herself in front of Kong Xinmu, causing her heart to be on the verge of collapse. Originally, Kong Xinmu had already been in the limelight in this clan martial competition, but now, even his guess was so accurate. How could he still live? Jiang Fengqing had never thought that from the beginning. She had always been the one who had taken the initiative to find trouble with Kong Xinmu. Kong Xinmu had never placed her in his eyes, and she had always been the one who had been making things difficult for Kong Xinmu. Right now, Kong Xinmu was too lazy to care about her. She was simply entertaining herself, like a clown. Very quickly, Ji Yuan returned to the arena once again. This time, his opponent was Kong Xinmu's previous opponent, Meng Chong. Meng Chong was defeated by Kang Xinmu. Originally, he had a bellyful of anger and wanted to fight properly in the next battle to regain his face, but he didn't expect to meet Ji Yuan. In reality, even if he did not run into Ji Yuan, he would run into Zhang Feng and Meng Chou. If he ran into the two of them, Meng Chong's chances of winning would be even lower. Now that Zhang Feng had been defeated by Ji Yuan, Meng Chong had no choice but to view Ji Yuan as an opponent who was equal to Zhang Feng or even Meng Chou. This made him feel extremely pressured. Meng Chong had a premonition that if he lost to Ji Yuan, his only chance would be against Zhang Feng. It was very likely that he would lose all his matches in the finals. No matter what, he had to fight Ji Yuan with all his might. The astral divine dragon appeared in the arena once again, and Meng Chong also transformed into a tornado dragon. The two sides quickly collided in the arena. However, compared to the previous battle, this battle was really lacking in appreciation. Ji Yuan didn't even use much strength, but Meng Chong was already unable to hold on. His tornado dragon body was firmly suppressed by the starlight, and he couldn't resist at all. If Meng Chong's defeat to Kang Xinmu was due to the fact that he had tried his best but was still slightly inferior, then compared to Ji Yuan, the difference was too great. Ji Yuan had only used 70% of his strength, and he had already suppressed Meng Chong to the point that he couldn't even lift his head. However now, Kang Xinmu had already broken through to the second level of the God martial arts realm. If he were to compete with Zhang Feng or Ji Yuan, it was really hard to tell who would win. However, Ji Yuan's imposing manner was too fierce, and it made people feel as if he was already the champion of this year's clan martial arts competition, and that he had no difficulty in suppressing Zhang Feng. Not long after, Meng Chong was defeated. Ji Yuan had won 2 matches in a row, and he had quite an imposing manner, and he was going to be the champion. Next battle, Meng Chong versus Meng Chou. When the host announced this battle, many people started laughing. There was basically no suspense in this battle. Meng Chong had lost to Kang Xinmu and Ji Yuan in a row, and he was completely disheartened. However, when he saw Meng Chou, he still made up his mind. Not to mention anything else, at least he couldn't be that much weaker than Meng Chou. Both sides entered the arena. For Meng Chou, there wasn't any pressure, but for Meng Chong, this battle was too important. It would be very difficult to win. For Meng Chong, he didn't have any hope of defeating Meng Chou. Originally, he felt that his strength wasn't weak, and he should be able to compete with Meng Chou. But now, it seemed that even Kang Xinmu and Ji Yuan could defeat him. If he were to go against Meng Chou, his chances of winning were too slim. You should just admit defeat now. Meng Chou stood in the arena and said indifferently, "Don't talk nonsense, let's fight." Seeing that he was so impolite, Meng Chong didn't want to say anything else. He instantly transformed into a tornado dragon, and a violent tornado danced in the arena, and attacked Meng Chou. Meng Chou didn't put him in his eyes at all. Seeing this, the corner of his mouth curled up, and his entire body transformed into a giant rock dragon, and floated in the arena. He didn't move an inch in the midst of the violent tornado, and he was like a mountain. The gap is too big. The giant rock dragon that Meng Chou had transformed into moved lightly. Then, a wave of giant rock energy condensed in front of the dragon god's body, forming a giant stone tablet. It easily broke through the power of the tornado and pressed towards Meng Chong. Boom! After a loud sound, Meng Chong's entire tornado dragon was pressed onto the ground of the arena. You overestimate yourself. This battle is meaningless, Meng Chou said indifferently. The giant rock dragon flew up into the sky and roared. On the arena, Meng Chong was pressed down by the giant rock tablet, and he couldn't move at all. This scene shocked everyone in the spectator stands. If Ji Yuan defeating Zhang Feng was shocking, then Ji Yuan defeating Meng Chong was natural. But no matter which battle it wasn't as shocking as Meng Chou's. With just one move, Meng Chong was pressed to the ground, and he couldn't even lift his head. Meng Chou had never used such a technique before. It was obvious that in the finals, Meng Chou wanted to amaze everyone with a single brilliant feat, and try his best to shock everyone. Only by doing so could the Divine Dragon elites take a liking to him. Meng Chou looked around, and his gaze swept past Kang Xinmu. He didn't take him seriously at all. His gaze lingered on Ji Yuan for a moment. In Meng Chou's eyes, the one who posed the greatest threat to him was Ji Yuan. If he were to meet Ji Yuan, he would definitely suppress him with lightning speed. That way, he would definitely be the champion. As for Zhang Feng, when Zhang Feng lost to Ji Yuan, Meng Qiu didn't take him seriously at all. As the battle ended, the 5 participants in the finals had already made their moves. The audience had a basic understanding of the strength of the 5 participants. They could tell that the champion would be between Meng Qiu and Ji Yuan. Unless Zhang Feng could defeat Meng Qiu in the later battles, Zhang Feng had already lost the possibility of being the champion. As for Meng Qiu, he was seen as the weakest among the 5. Kong Xinmu basically felt that he was only slightly stronger than Meng Qiu, and if he were to fight against anyone else, he would definitely lose. Chapter 3974. This battle attracted the attention of everyone in the spectator stands. This was because Kong Xinmu had admitted defeat when facing Zhang Feng previously, which led to the conclusion that Kong Xinmu was inferior to Zhang Feng. Now, Kong Xinmu and Zhang Feng had finally met again. This time, would Kong Xinmu admit defeat? After all, this was the finals. Every 2 people only had one battle. If Kong Xinmu were to give up, it would be equivalent to a direct defeat. This kid will most likely admit defeat. After all, they are not on the same level. That's right. Even if Zhang Feng lost to Ji Yuan, it's ultimately a matter between them. It doesn't mean that Zhang Feng is weak. Let's not talk about anything else. Dealing with a mere Kong Xinmu shouldn't be a problem. The crowd discussed animatedly. All of them stared at Kong Xinmu, who was in the spectator stands. They wanted to see if he would stand up and directly give up the battle. But very quickly, they discovered that Kong Xinmu had no intention of giving up. He stood up and walked towards the martial arts arena. At the same time, he glanced in the direction of the Zhang clan where Zhang Feng was in the spectator stands. His eyes were actually filled with calmness. This scene made the crowd excited. It seemed that Kong Xinmu was going to challenge Zhang Feng. This battle was going to be interesting. One must know that Zhang Feng had just lost to Ji Yuan. He must have been suppressing a belly full of anger. Now that Kong Xinmu actually dared to provoke him, he must be incomparably furious. Courting death. Zhang Feng's expression turned cold. He directly jumped down from the martial arts arena. Kong Xinmu vs. Zhang Feng. Begin. Following the announcement of the host dragon martial artist, both sides had already transformed into their divine dragon forms on the martial arts arena. In the spectator stands, Jiang Yuaning clenched her hands tightly. She was worried for Kong Xinmu. Although she was confident in Kong Xinmu, his opponent this time was Zhang Feng, who was considered to be one of the 2 strongest people in this clan tournament. Although Zhang Feng had lost to Ji Yuan and might not be able to bear the title of being one of the 2 strongest, he was still much stronger than Kong Xinmu. His cultivation of the 4th level of the divine martial arts realm made the talent of the spiritual fire in his body much stronger than that of Kong Xinmu. Perhaps he could easily defeat Kong Xinmu. You will know that provoking me is the biggest mistake. Zhang Feng sneered. He transformed into a spiritual fire dragon and roared. Instantly, a wave of spiritual fire filled the sky. Really? Kong Xinmu smiled faintly, not taking the threat to heart. No matter what, he had already defeated Meng Qiu. There were only 3 opponents left in the finals: Zhang Feng, Ji Yuan, and Meng Qiu. No matter how one looked at it, Zhang Feng was the weakest among the 3. If Kong Xinmu didn't even dare to challenge Zhang Feng, how could he dare to talk about becoming the champion of the clan martial meet? That was simply an idiot's dream. Therefore, to Kong Xinmu, he had to win this match against Zhang Feng. Otherwise, he would lose the qualification to continue fighting. But he was not satisfied with the results he had obtained so far. This was because these results were not enough to bring him enough influence to drag down the Jiang clan's patriarch, Jiang Rong. In the spectator stands, among the people from the Shi clan mansion, the sacred dragon Shi Tao and Shi Yueying sisters were also nervous. This battle was definitely the biggest challenge Kong Xinmu had faced since participating in the clan martial meet. The spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into, as soon as the battle began, descended from the sky. Along with a series of fierce flames, it violently swept towards Kong Xinmu. Kong Xinmu transformed into a black dragon. The 200 Zhang long dragons faced each other in mid-air. Halberd of the Heavenly Saint. Kong Xinmu transformed the heavenly sacred halberd into a golden holy light and released it towards Zhang Feng. Suddenly, A series of golden halberd holy lights burst out, and like raindrops, it pierced into the fierce spiritual fire of his opponent. The two forces collided with each other and exploded in an instant. Zhang Feng's spiritual fire didn't suffer the slightest bit of advantage. Kill! Kong Xinmu faced it head-on. Purple magic crystals condensed all over his body, and his divine dragon eyes flickered with shrewdness. His entire divine dragon body instantly pierced through the air, charging towards the spiritual fire dragon. Exploding heavenly fire. The spiritual fire in Zhang Feng's body instantly condensed, and in the next moment, it transformed into a flaming tornado. It actually appeared out of nowhere and enveloped Kong Xinmu within it, instantly wrapping around him. The power of this exploding heavenly fire was extremely terrifying. It contained an unimaginably high temperature, causing the entire space on the battle stage to slightly distort. For a moment, many people seemed to be able to see the scene of Kong Xinmu being burned to ashes by this exploding heavenly fire. In the spectator stand, Jiang Yuaning, Shi Yueying, and the others who were concerned about Kong Xinmu had a nervous look on their faces, calling out Kong Xinmu's name in their hearts. In the next moment, a black divine dragon tore through the sky from within the flaming tornado. To everyone's surprise, it instantly grabbed Zhang Feng's flaming dragon, and then it enveloped Zhang Feng with its pitch-black devouring force. What? Such a powerful attack actually had no effect on him. Not only Zhang Feng himself, even the spectators were shocked. They were completely shocked by Kong Xinmu's combat strength. They really didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. From the looks of it, Zhang Feng's previous attack was equivalent to his strongest attack when he fought against Ji Yuan, but in the end, it didn't affect Kong Xinmu at all. How could anyone believe this? Shadow Dragon Feng Transformation. Kong Xinmu transformed into a black divine dragon and suddenly unleashed a grade 3 offensive dragon martial technique. Countless shadow dragon fangs rained down on the spiritual fire dragon. His black dragon eyes were filled with coldness and disregard for the common people. At this moment, not to mention a mere Zhang Feng, even if a divine dragon powerhouse appeared in front of him, he wouldn't put them in his eyes. This was the will of the black dragon's soul hidden in Kong Xinmu's body. This black dragon's origin was mysterious, and no one knew where it came from. However, its strength definitely surpassed that of a divine dragon powerhouse. It was even possible that even the Dragon Emperor wouldn't be able to suppress it. Unknowingly, Kong Xinmu's every move also carried some of the will of the black dragon, making him stand out from the masses. In the face of Zhang Feng's strongest attack just now, Kong Xinmu wasn't completely unscathed. In fact, he had used many means, such as the devouring force, magic crystals, the heavenly sacred halberd defense, and so on. However, in the end, his opponent wasn't able to break through his defense, making it seem like he was completely unscathed. In fact, Kong Xinmu's energy consumption was quite severe, but it didn't matter. As long as he could devour the spiritual fire's power, it would be fine. Chapter 3975. Both sides once again fell into a stalemate on the martial stage, fighting at close range. Spiritual fire energy continuously surged out from Zhang Feng's dragon form, wrapping around Kong Xinmu's black dragon form, incessantly burning, trying to incinerate the black magic crystal on the surface of Kong Xinmu's body. Unfortunately, Kong Xinmu's magic crystal defense dragon martial skill had been comprehended to the dragon grade. Combined with the devouring power, it could devour the opponent's energy and condense it into a small magic crystal. This made it extremely difficult for the opponent to break through his defense. If the opponent couldn't break through his magic crystal in one go, it would be very difficult to injure him. Not to mention, Kong Xinmu also had the Heavenly Saint's Halberd, a dragon-grade weapon that could be used for defense. Demon Hunter Supreme Soul Flame. Zhang Feng saw that the situation was not good and began to display the Grade 4 dragon martial skills he had cultivated. Unfortunately, the might of these Grade 4 dragon martial skills were almost the same. Wanting to break through Kong Xinmu's defense was almost as difficult as ascending to the heavens. This made Zhang Feng's dragon form eyes filled with shock. He didn't expect this kid's defense to be so extraordinary. However, if this continued, his martial arts cultivation was stronger, and the energy in his body was richer. As long as he could exhaust the energy in Kong Xinmu's body, he would be able to win. What a surprise! You make me very irritable. Zhang Feng roared, but if you go against me, you will ultimately lose. While he was attacking Kong Shinmu, he was also using all kinds of methods to prevent Kong Shinmu from breaking through his defense. As long as Kong Shinmu couldn't break through his defense, he could continue like this until Kong Shinmu died of exhaustion. Seeing such a situation, many people in the spectator stand were watching intently. It was hard for them to imagine that Kong Shinmu was able to fight Zhang Feng to a standstill. However, based on the current situation, it would be very difficult for Kong Shinmu to defeat Zhang Feng. This was because Zhang Feng was different from his previous opponents. His defense was almost impenetrable. The power of the spiritual fire in his body continuously surged out from his dragon body, forming layers of spiritual fire barriers. No matter what attack Kong Shinmu launched at him, it would be blocked by the layers of spiritual fire barriers, unable to break through. Take your time. Kong Shinmu was not in a hurry. Now that he had stepped into the God martial arts realm, the devouring power did not necessarily have to corrode the opponent's body to devour the opponent's flesh and blood. He could even directly devour the talent power released by his opponent and use it to strengthen himself. Right now, he was in a process of accumulation. Although it seemed that he could not break through Zhang Feng's defense, and Zhang Feng could not break through his magic crystal, in reality, Kong Shinmu's devouring power was constantly devouring his opponent's spiritual fire power, thus strengthening his own resistance against the power of spiritual fire. At the same time, his devouring power also began to carry some of the power of spiritual fire. Very soon, you will see for yourself, Halberd of Sky Sage. After the two dragons were in a stalemate in the sky for a long time, Kong Shinmu finally launched his final attack. Because the situation was more or less right now, although he did not have an absolute advantage, the energy in his body was almost depleted. If he did not act now, it would be too late. Kill! The halberd of Sky Sage instantly turned into countless golden halberds, which actually contained a portion of the power of spiritual fire. They shot towards the spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into. Like a golden rain, they poured down, completely enveloping the spiritual fire dragon. There was no way to dodge. Good timing. Zhang Feng knew that now was the time for the final battle. He had secretly hidden a portion of his power in his body, and he took advantage of this moment to explode in an instant. The power of spiritual fire was like a volcano erupting from his body, and the spiritual fire dragon was like the crater of the volcano. At this moment, it surged towards Kong Shinmu. This is Zhang Feng's strongest attack. Amazing. This power, I'm afraid only a 5th-tier divine martial realm can display it? Who would have thought that Zhang Feng did not underestimate his opponent at all? He actually secretly hid his power, and only released it now. Everyone in the spectator stands exclaimed. They were very impressed with Zhang Feng's methods. If it was them, they would have used all their strength to kill Kong Shinmu from the start. And now when Zhang Feng released his power, it was just when Kong Shinmu felt that the time had come, and he wanted to attack Zhang Feng. This was also the moment when Kong Shinmu's defense was at its weakest. In fact, it was so. Kong Shinmu really did not expect that Zhang Feng had secretly hidden a portion of his power. No wonder it was so easy for him to defend just now. He brandished the Heavenly Saint's halberd, which turned into countless golden halberds that contained a portion of spiritual fire energy. They attacked Zhang Feng, but they were engulfed by Zhang Feng's volcanic eruption halfway, and were completely swallowed up. Immediately after, the eruption of fire energy condensed into a rolling pillar of fire, and in an instant, it swallowed the black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into. But at the same time, Kong Shinmu also gathered all the energy in his body, and he suddenly rushed out of this rolling pillar of fire. His body was covered in burning flames, and in an instant, he collided with the spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into. At this moment, Kong Shinmu even gave up on his own defense, and all his power, along with the Heavenly Saint's halberd and Shadow Dragon Feng, burst out together. The destructive power of the spiritual fire energy actually tore a hole in Zhang Feng's body. Although this way, Kong Shinmu's body was almost burnt beyond recognition, and his entire black dragon body became even blacker, like charcoal. But his devouring power took this opportunity to corrode the body of the spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into. In the next moment, the devouring power instantly burst out and began to devour the essence of life, and the injuries that Kong Shinmu suffered actually rapidly recovered in a short period of time. Although on the surface, it still looked like he was burnt black, but the internal injuries had already begun to rapidly recover. Still not giving up? Zhang Feng was enraged. He watched as Kong Shinmu's black dragon coiled around him, and actually tore a hole in his body, and he could not help but tremble with fear. Against others, you might be able to turn defeat into victory, but in front of me, Zhang Feng, it is impossible. He snorted angrily, and endless spiritual fire energy once again surged out from his body, turning into flaming sword qi, and slashed at Kong Shinmu's black dragon body. The flaming sword qi slashed at the black dragon's charred body, worsening his injuries. Zhang Feng's power was too strong, and even if Kong Shinmu continued to absorb the blood, flesh, and life essence from Zhang Feng's body to heal, he was still showing signs of being unable to bear it. If this continued, Kong Shinmu would definitely be the first to die before Zhang Feng. This won't do. Alright, I still have this power in my body. Chapter 3976. In Kong Shinmu's body, there was another power that came from Xueqi. She had a special power in her body called the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Power. After Kong Shinmu had devoured this power, he had permanently increased his resistance against the power of ice. Furthermore, this power was still lurking in his body. Ice and fire were two completely different powers that restrained each other. Zhang Shijian had used the power of spiritual fire to attack Kong Shinmu, while Kong Shinmu had used the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Power to defend himself. In the next moment, Jiang Shenwu's body, which had been scorched black, suddenly surged with the power of ice, instantly covering the surface of his black dragon skin that had been scorched black. This is... Zhang Feng had thought that victory was in his grasp, but his expression changed drastically when he sensed the appearance of the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Power. He could sense that this ice attribute power could reduce the power of his spiritual fire by half. The flaming sword aura that he had slashed at Kong Shinmu's body seemed to have no destructive power at all. Meanwhile, Kong Shinmu was still devouring his flesh, blood, and life essence, making him weaker and weaker. The appearance of the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Power instantly turned the situation around. This scene surprised all the spectating dragon martial artists. They all pointed at Kong Shinmu. They had no idea what was going on with Kong Shinmu. What was up with this ice attribute power that had suddenly appeared? Could it be that he had two innate powers? That was impossible. On the other hand, Shi Weiying's eyes lit up. She hadn't expected that the power that had been devoured by Kong Shinmu would come in handy at a time like this. Furthermore, it seemed to be very useful. This is my Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Power. Her face, which had always been cold, now revealed a rare smile. This made Sacred Dragon Shi Tao smile in satisfaction. His daughter was good at everything, but she was usually too cold. He hadn't expected Jiang Shenwu to be able to make her smile even though she was usually cold. Just based on this, Sacred Dragon Shi Tao knew that he hadn't misjudged Kong Shinmu. On the martial arts arena, the appearance of the Five Extreme Mystic Ice Power instantly turned the tide of the battle. Die! Zhang Feng attacked Kong Shinmu like a madman. Unfortunately, his attacks were completely blocked by the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Force. He couldn't hurt Kong Shinmu much at all. As for Kong Shinmu, he quickly recovered from his injuries and consumed energy after devouring Zhang Feng's flesh, blood, and life essence. Originally, he was worried that his recovery speed wouldn't be fast enough. However, now that he had the protection of the Five Extreme Mysterious Ice Power, Kong Shinmu wouldn't be too seriously injured by the other party. Although the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice energy would be consumed very quickly, it didn't matter, because by then, Kong Shinmu would definitely win, and it would be enough to rely on his own devouring power. Zhang Feng could clearly feel that he was becoming weaker and weaker. The flames in the eyes of the spiritual fire dragon were gradually extinguishing, but he was unwilling to give up. How could he be willing? He had just lost to Ji Yuan, and now if he were to lose to a mere Kong Shinmu, he would completely become a laughingstock in the clan martial competition's finals. He was one of the two strongest people, but in the end, he probably wouldn't even be able to get third place. This was too embarrassing. I've already lost to Ji Yuan, I definitely can't lose again. His eyes were filled with madness as the spiritual fire energy in his entire body started to burn, causing his entire divine dragon body to burn into a fire dragon. Raging flames continuously erupted from his body as he fell towards the black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into. This is... Zhang Feng actually overdrew his body and gambled with his future. Many people were shocked. Zhang Feng's strength was obvious to all. Even though he had lost to Ji Yuan and was about to be defeated by Kong Xinmu, his strength was definitely ranked at the top in this clan martial competition. But now, in order to not lose to Kong Xinmu, Zhang Feng had actually overdrawn his body and ignited the spiritual fire energy in his body. In this way, he would be able to obtain strength in a short period of time, but this would have a huge impact on his future cultivation. It was not an exaggeration to say that this would even delay his next breakthrough by 1 or 2 years. As long as it wasn't a life-and-death situation, ordinary dragon warriors wouldn't do this. Moreover, some dragon warriors wouldn't be willing to overdraw their bodies even when facing a life-and-death situation. Only when they were truly in despair would they want to risk their lives. In the clan martial competition, Zhang Feng had actually overdrawn his body. Was this really worth it? Moreover, even if he overdrew his body to defeat Kong Xinmu, it would be even more impossible for him to win against Meng Chou in the future. No one knew what Zhang Feng was thinking. Right now, all he could think about was defeating Kong Xinmu. As for the future, he could think about it in the future. No matter what, he couldn't accept that he could only be ranked 4th in the clan martial competition's finals, and was only slightly stronger than Meng Chou. Therefore, he had to risk his life. The power of the spiritual fire was burning, causing him to fall towards Kong Xinmu's black dragon body. At this moment, the 5 extreme mysterious ice energy in Kong Xinmu's body had almost been completely exhausted. However, the flesh and blood essence that he had devoured from Zhang Feng's body had already allowed him to recover from all the injuries he had suffered previously. On the other hand, although Zhang Feng had overdrawn his body and the power of the spiritual fire had erupted, he had previously devoured a portion of his flesh and blood essence, causing him to already be in a weak state. Right now, even if he were to explode with the power of the spiritual fire, his strength might not necessarily be comparable to Kong Xinmu's. Are you crazy? Kong Xinmu coldly snorted. He was completely unable to understand Zhang Feng's actions. This kid really didn't care about his life for the sake of face. Halberd of the Heavenly Saint. Kong Xinmu waved his hand, and the golden halberd instantly transformed into a gigantic golden light, piercing straight towards the body of the spiritual fire dragon that Zhang Feng had transformed into. The power of the spiritual fire on Zhang Feng's body erupted, still wanting to block the golden halberd. Unfortunately, in his current weak state, even if he had overdrawn his body by exploding the power of the spiritual fire, his strength was still not comparable to when he was at his peak. In the next moment, the golden halberd's light broke through the burst of the power of the spiritual fire, then pierced through the body of the spiritual fire dragon that was hundreds of meters long, stabbing it into the ground of the battle arena. Roar! The spiritual fire dragon let out an angry roar and wailed. It still wanted to fly up, but it had already lost all its strength. The spiritual fire on its body had been extinguished, and its body had also suffered serious injuries. Such serious injuries would definitely not be able to recover in a short period of time. After all, not everyone could be like Kong Xinmu, who had the power of devouring to heal injuries. Zhang Feng, defeated. Kong Xinmu, victorious. As the host martial dragon announced the results of the battle, the spectator stands were instantly filled with cries of disbelief. Initially, they did not think that Kong Xinmu would win. One must know that this person had taken the initiative to admit defeat to Zhang Feng previously, but now he had actually defeated Zhang Feng. Furthermore, it was after Zhang Feng had overdrawn his body. Chapter 3977. Zhang Feng was defeated. This caused the majority of the spectators to have an expression of disbelief on their faces. They had never thought that it would be such an outcome. Kong Xinmu had defeated Zhang Feng. This Kong Xinmu is too unexpected. Along the way, he has repeatedly turned defeat into victory. It's truly admirable. It's also because Zhang Feng did not overdraft his body from the beginning, or else Kong Xinmu would definitely not be his opponent. You must be joking. Who in the world would overdraft their body right from the start of a battle? The crowd was surprised. They finally began to change their perception of Kong Xinmu. If it was said that previously, Kong Xinmu was just a lucky kid who had entered the finals, then now, the majority of the people had already recognized his strength. No matter what, it was a fact that he had defeated Zhang Feng. This meant that Kong Xinmu was already firmly in the top 3 of the clan tournament. Whether it was Zhang Feng or Meng Chou, they had both lost to Kong Xinmu. There were still 5 more matches before the rankings would be out. Kong Xinmu was without a doubt in the top 3. The only thing that everyone was debating about was the #1 candidate for the clan tournament. Was it Meng Qiu or Ji Yuan? As for Kong Xinmu, although the crowd had recognized his strength, it did not mean that he had the strength to fight for first place. The crowd only attributed the reason why Kong Xinmu defeated Zhang Feng to Zhang Feng being too weak. Otherwise, why would Zhang Feng lose to Ji Yuan, and then to Kong Xinmu, and even overdraft his body? This kid actually. In the spectator stands on the Jiang clan side, the patriarch Jiang Rong's face turned gloomy. He had never thought that Kong Xinmu would be able to reach this stage in the clan tournament. Although the Jiang clan's results were much better than expected, it was actually disadvantageous to him, because there was a conflict between him and Kong Xinmu. Once Kong Xinmu's results improved to a certain extent, it would definitely pose a threat to his position as the patriarch. If Kong Xinmu was in 3rd place, he wouldn't be able to threaten his position as the clan leader. Once Kong Xinmu won 1st place, his position as the clan leader would be in jeopardy. The champion of every clan martial competition would definitely not be a nobody in the future. After all, in such a vast territory like the Dragon Prison Domain, there would definitely be many geniuses appearing every 3 years. Zhang Yuaning's face darkened. She had always been going against Kong Xinmu. Now that Kong Xinmu had defeated Zhang Feng, he had basically firmly stepped into the top 3 of the clan martial competition finals. It could be said that he had already slapped her in the face. Even if Kong Xinmu stood in front of her now, she would have nothing to say. Even though Kong Xinmu had not won 1st place, no one in the Jiang clan despised him anymore. Jiang Liuxue stood up with a complicated expression. She still remembered when he had just awakened as a dragon warrior. Everyone in the Jiang clan mocked Kong Xinmu, mocking him for awakening the mortal dragon's blood essence. But now, none of the awakened dragon warriors of the Jiang clan could compare to Kong Xinmu. Even the awakened dragon warriors of the Jiang clan in the past 10 years were not as outstanding as Kong Xinmu. Was this Jiang Zizai's son? Jiang Liuxue could not help but think, if Jiang Zizai had not disappeared, what would the Jiang clan be like now? What would the great Jiang Dragon City be like now? Both father and son had such outstanding talent, so why would the Jiang clan worry about not rising? They could even lead the Jiang clan out of the Dragon Prison Domain. Unfortunately, Jiang Zizai had mysteriously disappeared 10 years ago. Jiang Liuxue felt that it was a great pity. Originally, there was hope for Kong Xinmu's rise, but because of Jiang Rong, the Jiang clan had once again begun internal strife. At this moment, Jiang Liuxue had some doubts about Jiang Rong. As the patriarch of the Jiang clan, could he really lead the Jiang clan to a more glorious future? In the spectator stands of the Shi clan mansion, Sacred Dragon Shi Tao could not help but laugh. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the Xia clan mansion. He winked at Sacred Dragon Xia Yan, as if saying, "Look at this kid, isn't he pretty good?" This made Sacred Dragon Xia Yan extremely angry. He already had a son, Xia Tianhan, who had died in the arena duel with Kong Xinmu. Now that he saw Kong Xinmu in the limelight, he was immediately displeased. Humph, can he still win the next 2 matches? Sacred Dragon Xia Yan's face was ashen as he coldly snorted. He did not believe that Kong Xinmu could continue winning. The remaining 2 matches would be against Ji Yuan and Meng Qiu. These 2 were not easy to deal with. Ji Yuan had already proven her strength by defeating Zhang Feng. Kong Xinmu had barely defeated Zhang Feng, so he had no chance of winning against Ji Yuan. As for Meng Qiu, there was no need to mention him. He had the strength to dominate the entire arena. No matter who he faced, he had not been able to force him to use his true strength. However, the discussion about Kong Xinmu soon came to an abrupt end. Because soon, the officials announced that the next match would be between Meng Qiu and Ji Yuan. Meng Qiu and Ji Yuan. Originally, no one doubted the outcome of the battle between these 2. They all thought that Meng Qiu would definitely defeat Ji Yuan. However, after Ji Yuan defeated Zhang Feng, everyone's evaluation of Ji Yuan changed. Zhang Feng was definitely an expert. For Ji Yuan to be able to defeat Zhang Feng, it was clear that Ji Yuan's strength surpassed Zhang Feng's by quite a bit. Even if she faced Meng Qiu, she would still be able to put up a fight. Even if she wasn't Meng Qiu's match, she would definitely be able to force Meng Qiu to use his true strength. This was Meng Qiu's second match. No one thought that he would lose to Ji Yuan in this match. Ji Yuan, who was originally calm when facing Zhang Feng, now had a serious look on his face. It was obvious that he thought very highly of Meng Qiu. The main reason was that Meng Qiu had not displayed his true strength in the previous matches, so he had no idea of Meng Qiu's strength. Unlike Zhang Feng, who had previously displayed many techniques, so Ji Yuan had a rough idea of how strong he was. The two of them stepped onto the arena respectively. Jiang Xinwu returned to the Jiang clan's spectator seats and similarly focused on watching the battle. To him, this battle was equally important. This was because out of the 4 battles in the finals, he still had 2 battles left against the two of them. Who do you think will win this time? Zhang Yuaning asked Kong Xinmu curiously. After all, in the match between Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan, Kong Xinmu had predicted that Zhang Feng would lose. Hence, she felt that Kong Xinmu might have been more accurate. I really don't know this time. Kong Xinmu shook his head. Previously, Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan had displayed some of their strength. Combining their gazes, he was able to make a rough guess. But now, Meng Qiu's strong self-confidence was accompanied by vigilance. Compared to Ji Yuan's caution, it was hard to tell who would win. Most importantly, Meng Qiu had not displayed his true strength before. Chapter 3978. Ji Yuan controlled the power of the Star Force. Meng Qiu controlled the power of the giant rock dragon. Both of them were at the 4th level of the God Martial Realm, but even if they were both at the 4th level of the God Martial World, the difference in strength between dragon warriors was still huge. For example, the difference between Meng Qiu and Meng Qiu was too big. In front of Meng Qiu couldn't even last 1 round. Meng Qiu stepped into the arena and transformed into a giant rock divine dragon. Ji Yuan swung her body and transformed into a star divine dragon. The light of the stars flickered on the battle stage and rushed towards Meng Qiu. Her majestic aura even surpassed that of when she fought against Zhang Feng. This guy broke through again. Many people could see that Ji Yuan had broken through again in this short period of time, and he was using his full strength against Meng Qiu. Starlight exploded in the entire area, transforming into meteors that fell towards Meng Qiu at a rapid speed. Each of the meteors contained a dense amount of innate talent energy. Anything that came into contact with it would instantly explode. Humph! Meng Qiu snorted, his giant rock dragon swung its tail. The power of the giant rock dragon condensed into a giant rock shield, protecting his entire body. Countless meteors kept falling, but they exploded on the giant rock shield, unable to hurt Meng Qiu. This scene caused many people in the spectator stands to exclaim in surprise. Just now, Ji Yuan was already so strong. That dragon martial technique had already broken through and displayed an even stronger power. However, it was still unable to break through the giant rock wall that Meng Qiu had casually condensed. My God, how strong is this Meng Qiu? I don't know, but Ji Yuan can force him to use his full strength. That's right. For example, this giant rock shield, he never used it before, he didn't even need to defend, he killed his opponent in 1 move. Everyone was discussing, they were curious about Meng Qiu's true strength. Kong Xinmu's expression was also solemn. After all, he was going to fight the two on the arena. He needed to understand each and every one of his opponent's moves. It would increase his chances of winning by a lot, and he could also prepare in advance. 10,000 stars. Mystical dragon Ji Yuan soared in mid-air as more and more meteors condensed and descended from the sky. The power of the stars was like a torrential downpour. It was fine for a while, but if he persisted and attacked continuously, even Meng Qiu's giant rock shield would not be able to withstand it. Not bad. Meng Qiu snorted softly. The divine dragon raised its head, and its eyes revealed an indescribable sense of dominance. After a furious roar, the power of the giant rocks exploded, condensing into a few giant rock mountains. They gathered beside the divine dragon's body, and then flew towards Ji Yuan in the sky. Each of these huge rock mountains weighed millions of pounds. They flew up and collided with the astral divine dragon in mid-air, squeezing the astral divine dragon inside. Then, these huge rock mountains exploded, causing the entire arena to tremble. The power of this attack caused Kong Xinmu's expression to change slightly. Amazing. This attack is at least twice as destructive as Zhang Feng's strongest move. I definitely can't block it head-on. Kong Xinmu thought to himself, and began to think of a countermeasure to deal with this move. The opponent's several huge rock mountains collided together, sandwiching the opponent in the middle. Then, the power of the giant rocks exploded. The destructive power was much stronger than the eruption of a volcano. If it was a dragon warrior with a weak body, they would probably be smashed into pieces by this move. But Ji Yuan was naturally not so weak. The astral divine dragon that he had transformed into quickly rushed out from the explosion of the huge rock mountains. But at this time, he was in a sorry state. The originally beautiful and elegant astral divine dragon's body was now covered in marks of attack. His face was covered in dirt, but fortunately, he was not injured. At the crucial moment, Ji Yuan still used some kind of defensive dragon martial skill, but that defensive dragon martial skill was destroyed by the power of the giant rocks. On the spectator stand, in the direction of the Ji tribe, Ji Yeshuan said lightly, "Just a little bit more and he would have been seriously injured." Unfortunately, Ji Yuan's strength is still inferior to Meng Chao's. Ji Yeshuan had a good understanding of Ji Yuan's strength. She even knew that Ji Yuan had just broken through a little bit, but it was not a breakthrough in the realm. Otherwise, she would not be afraid of Meng Chou. And seeing the strength that Meng Chou had displayed, Ji Yeshuan was very clear that Ji Yuan was most likely not a match for Meng Chou. Her martial arts realm had already reached the peak of the divine martial arts realm. She even had 1 foot in the nirvana tribulation realm. Naturally, she could see that Meng Chou's current level of strength was higher than Ji Yuan's. After Ji Yuan escaped from the explosion of the power of the huge rock, the power of the stars poured down in torrents, shooting towards Meng Chou one after another. Meng Chou only gathered the power of the giant rocks and constantly formed a giant rock shield. He was not afraid of being broken by Ji Yuan. Even if a layer of the giant rock shield was broken, he could immediately condense another giant rock shield and continue to defend. With the strength of Ji Yuan's attack, it was impossible to break Meng Chou's giant rock shield in one go. In this way, Ji Yuan had consumed a lot of energy. Not to mention that Meng Chou had not really used any killing moves. It's time to end it. Sky Rock Binding Seal. Meng Chou seemed to have seen through Ji Yuan's level of strength. The corner of his mouth slightly curled up. He raised his hand, and in the void, a few rock arms actually stretched out. In an instant, they grabbed the starry divine dragon in mid-air, and then like an iron lock, locked Ji Yuan in mid-air. Star Break. The starry divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into suddenly exploded. His whole body shone with starlight. He wanted to break free from the rock arms, but in the end, he could not do so. The 4 rock arms were like the firmest iron lock in the world, locking the starry divine dragon in mid-air. He could not move at all, and even the power of the stars in his body was gradually being bound, becoming weaker and weaker. Dragon Rocky Mountain Break. Then, Meng Chou's giant rock divine dragon did not move, but attacked again. He condensed a few more giant rock mountains, and from different directions, they collided with the starry divine dragon. I admit defeat. Ji Yuan felt the terrifying power from the giant rock mountains, and he shook his head helplessly. The starry divine dragon was in a state of being bound, and he could not use any defensive methods. Even if he used it, he would not be able to resist the Dragon Rocky Mountain Break. It was better to admit defeat earlier. He could also see that there was a big gap between him and Meng Chou. It was not a good choice to fight to the death with Meng Chou. In that case, he might not be able to defeat Meng Chou. Instead, it would affect his battle with Kong Xinmu. It could be said that it would not be beneficial. Chapter 3979. When Ji Yuan admitted defeat, the Dragon Rocky Mountain in the sky stopped. Meng Chou returned to his human form and waved his hand, causing the few huge rocky mountains to dissipate one after another. Meng Chou won another match and was closer to the championship. Even at this time, Meng Chou felt that he was already the champion of this clan martial competition, because the following battles were not stressful for him at all. Zhang Feng? He had already overdrafted his body and still lost to Kong Xinmu, so he did not put him in his eyes at all. As for Kong Xinmu, his strength was only so, and was not a threat to him. I haven't met any decent opponents. Meng Chou smiled faintly, turned around and returned to the spectator stands, as if he was already invincible. With regards to his performance, many people felt that it was normal. After all, with the strength he had displayed, he had basically swept the entire clan martial competition. Only Zhang Feng and Kong Xinmu had not fought with him yet, but looking at the strength they had displayed, they were basically not a match for Meng Qiu. After he returned to the spectator stands, the next match was between Meng Qiu and Zhang Feng. Basically, not many people paid attention to this battle, because these two people had already lost to at least two other people. Meng Qiu lost to Ji Yuan, Kong Xinmu, and Meng Qiu. In the end, when he fought against Zhang Feng, everyone felt that he would most likely lose again. However, when Zhang Feng went up on stage, everyone felt that Zhang Feng was really going to lose. This was because when he fought against Kong Xinmu, he had overdrafted his body. Right now, his body was not in a good condition, and his overall strength was not even half of his peak. However, Zhang Feng was a person who valued honor very much. Even in such a state, he was not willing to give up this battle, and took the initiative to step onto the stage to fight against Meng Qiu. Unfortunately, no matter how weak Meng Qiu was, his strength was still enough to make it into the top 5 of the finals. But now, Zhang Feng's strength had been greatly reduced, and Meng Qiu's strength was as good as before. The result of the battle between the two was obvious. Not long after, the power of Zhang Feng's spiritual fire was gradually extinguished by Meng Qiu's innate talent. The tragic thing was that Zhang Feng had already lost 3 times. The next time he fought against Meng Qiu, the result was even worse. I didn't expect that Ji Yuan, who was supposed to be ranked second, would lose so badly. She lost 4 matches in a row in the finals. It's mainly because of the battle with Kong Xinmu. He was seriously injured and exhausted. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lost to Meng Qiu. That's not necessarily the case. The way I see it, this Zhang Feng doesn't have much strength to begin with. He's just finding an excuse for his losing streak. No matter what the audience thought, Zhang Feng's reputation had already been swept to the ground by the fact that he was the last of the 5 contestants in the finals. Overdrafting his body was not the reason for his failure. If he was strong enough, how could he have lost all 4 battles? Meng Qiu, on the other hand, had risen from the 5th place to the 4th place, which gave him a little bit of face. He was still a little happy in his heart. The last 2 battles will be crucial. That's right. The first match is between Kong Xinmu and Ji Yuan. The second match is between Kong Xinmu and Meng Qiu. If nothing unexpected happens, Meng Qiu should be the champion of this year's clan martial competition. There's still a small possibility. If Kong Xinmu wins both matches, Kong Xinmu will be the champion. Are you trying to make me laugh? The gap between Kong Xinmu and Meng Qiu is simply too big. I definitely don't believe that he can defeat Meng Qiu. That's right. Even if he were to face Ji Yuan, he would most likely lose. The results of this year's clan martial competition are basically out. However, this Kong Xinmu is still very powerful. I originally thought that he would at most be ranked 5th. I didn't expect that he would defeat Meng Qiu and Zhang Feng. Now, even if he lost the next 2 matches, he would still be able to sit firmly in 3rd place. Everyone discussed animatedly, expressing their opinions on the following situation. As for Kong Xinmu, who was the center of everyone's discussion, he had an indifferent expression. The next 2 battles were extremely important to him, but he wasn't worried. He stepped onto the stage, and Ji Yuan stood in front of him. Your strength isn't bad, to be able to reach this step. However, since you've met me, it's about time for you to stop. Ji Yuan swept a glance at Kong Xinmu, laughed lightly and said, It's not bad that you were able to defeat Zhang Feng, but there's still quite a gap between him and me. Kong Xinmu didn't say anything. He knew that words wouldn't be able to express anything. Everything could only be proven with strength. If he could win, then he could win. If he couldn't, then he couldn't. Fortunately, Kong Xinmu had also absorbed the power of the stars earlier, allowing his body to have a rather strong resistance towards the inherent power of the stars. Let's begin. After Kong Xinmu finished speaking indifferently, the devouring power in his body suddenly erupted, transforming into a pitch-black divine dragon that flew towards Ji Yuan. Ji Yuan was very confident in his own strength, but he was still a little serious towards Kong Xinmu. After all, Kong Xinmu was able to defeat Zhang Feng, which meant that his strength was relatively close to his. Star's descent. Ji Yuan shouted fiercely, transforming into a star divine dragon. The inherent power of the stars condensed into meteors, which then attacked the black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into. Devour. Jiang Shenwu's divine dragon body was covered in pitch-black devouring power that spread out like ripples to meet the incoming meteors. Then, it actually started to devour them. As Kong Shinmu had already devoured some kind of power of the stars, the speed at which he devoured the power of the stars increased. The incoming meteors were actually devoured by the devouring power in an instant, leaving a small portion that landed on Kong Shinmu's body, easily blocked by the magic crystal on the surface of his divine dragon body. Ha! Ji Yuan didn't expect his attack to be so easily blocked by Kong Shinmu. One had to know that he had used 80% of his strength from the start, but he didn't expect Kong Shinmu's strength to be slightly stronger than he had imagined. Interesting. No wonder Zhang Feng lost to you. Ji Yuan's lips curled up slightly. He had a new understanding of Kong Shinmu's strength, so he finally used his full strength. The inherent power of the stars condensed into a dazzling starry sky above his head, followed by a wave of starlight sprinkling down, enveloping Kong Shinmu's entire body. Starry vision! Ji Yuan shouted fiercely, and the dazzling starry sky seemed to transform into a pair of pupils, focusing on Kong Shinmu. The starlight shone on Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body, and the power of the entire black dragon began to weaken. Starry vision was a 4th-grade dragon martial technique, but Ji Yuan had already cultivated it to the dragon level, and it had the effect of weakening the opponent and hindering the opponent's movements. At this moment, under the gaze of the starlight, Kong Shinmu felt as if he had fallen into a swamp, and he basically couldn't move. This made Kong Shinmu's heart skip a beat. He discovered that the starlight condensed by his opponent couldn't be devoured by him, and it gave him a bad feeling. However, he didn't hesitate and flew towards Ji Yuan in the next moment. Sky-piercing dragon shadow. Chapter 3980. When Kong Shinmu first started cultivating the 5th-grade dragon martial skills, Void-piercing dragon shadow and roaring sky dragon claw, he had always maintained them at the Earth grade. Now that he was being stared at by Ji Yuan's starry sky vision, his movements were restricted, which brought him a lot of pressure. Under this pressure, he finally achieved a breakthrough in the void-piercing dragon shadow. But the pitch-black divine dragon body that he had transformed into instantly spun in the air, and flew in front of Ji Yuan's astral divine dragon form. Roaring sky dragon claw. Kong Shinmu's black dragon claw stretched out and suddenly landed on Ji Yuan's astral divine dragon body. However, this move of his had only been comprehended to the Earth-level dragon martial technique, and it did not have any lethality against Ji Yuan. Instead, Ji Yuan's entire body shone with starlight, as if a layer of translucent barrier had formed, directly blocking Jiang Shenwu's black dragon claw. Phantom Dragon Fang Transformation. In the next moment, Jiang Shenwu used his devouring force to condense countless black dragon fangs. Accompanied by the heavenly saint's halberd, the surging dragon fangs were incomparably sharp, instantly shattering Ji Yuan's star defensive barrier. Too naive. Ji Yuan's expression didn't change in the slightest. He smiled faintly, and with just a slight turn of his divine dragon body, an even stronger power of the stars erupted, forming a river of stars that roared and drowned Jiang Shenwu's black dragon body. For a moment, Kong Shinmu felt as if he had been washed into a river, and his whole body was surrounded by the power of the stars. The power of the stars kept trying to corrode into his body, making him feel as if he was wandering in a sea of stars. In addition to the effect of the starry sky vision, his strength was getting weaker and weaker. Devour. Kong Shinmu's whole body was enveloped by the devouring power, and then he tried to devour the surrounding sea of stars. Although he could only devour a part of the sea of stars, it was still able to slightly alleviate the current situation. The purple magic crystal protected Kong Shinmu's entire body, separating him from the power of the stars that Ji Yuan had erupted. Heavenly Saint's Halberd. Kong Shinmu's strength burst forth, and the Heavenly Saint's halberd morphed into countless golden halberds, piercing through the astral energy as they shot towards Ji Yuan. The astral divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into opened her eyes, and the power of the stars turned into a river of stars that filled the sky, like a waterfall of stars, once again pouring down. The talons of both sides clashed fiercely in mid-air. The dragon-grade halberd of the Heavenly Saint turned into a golden light, faintly discernible in the midst of the stars. Roaring Sky Dragon Claw. In the next moment, Kong Shinmu once again unleashed a grade 5 dragon martial skill, and it could be seen that this move had also broken through from Earth stage to Dragon stage. Void-tearing Dragon Shadow and Roaring Sky Dragon Claw were grade 5 dragon martial skills that he had been practicing since he was in the Zhang clan. Although they weren't very powerful, after breaking through to the dragon realm, their destructive power was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the golden halberd that was used together with the heavenly saint's halberd broke through the opponent's starry sky canopy in an instant. Ji Yuan was a little surprised. He didn't expect that when Kong Shinmu fought with him, he would be able to break through 2 dragon martial skills in a row. This kind of comprehension ability was too strong. The innate talent of the stars in his body continued to erupt, condensing into balls of stars. After approaching Kong Shinmu, they quickly exploded, causing the spectators to be shocked to the core. If it was the other dragon martial artists that had been eliminated from the clan martial competition, they would probably have been seriously injured when they encountered Ji Yuan's star explosion. However, Kong Shinmu's devouring power had fused with the purple magic crystal, and he was actually able to forcefully block the opponent's attack. Immediately after, Kong Shinmu roared, and the shadow dragon teeth continuously condensed on his black dragon's body. At this moment, the dragon martial skill, which was originally considered ordinary in power, suddenly exploded. After consecutively breaking through the dragon martial skill, Kong Shinmu's comprehension of the dragon martial skill entered a state of emptiness. The previous breakthrough seemed to be paving the way for his current breakthrough. The sky-piercing dragon shadow and the roaring sky dragon claw were both dragon martial skills that he had rarely used recently, but now that he had broken through first, it became the prelude to the breakthrough of the shadow dragon Fong. He also broke through like this? Ji Yuan's expression finally changed. He knew that among the dragon martial skills that Kong Shinmu cultivated, there was a third-grade dragon martial skill. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Kong Shinmu to rush all the way to this level. Previously, he wasn't afraid of Kong Shinmu's dragon martial skill, but now it was different. In the battle with him, Kong Shinmu had actually broken through to the 3rd stage of the shadow dragon Fong. Relying on the accumulation of the previous 2 5th-grade dragon martial skills, he successfully comprehended and broke through in an instant. The pitch-black dragon teeth danced and condensed in the sky, sweeping towards the astral divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into. They surged violently like waves, crashing down wave after wave. Ji Yuan's entire body was shrouded with the power of the stars, forming a layer of starlight barrier, blocking in front of these pitch-black dragon teeth. However, the shadow dragon Fong transformation combined with the heavenly saint halberd, the destructive power of the two fused reached an unimaginable degree. This was the strongest attack that Kong Shinmu had ever unleashed since he awakened as a dragon martial artist. Even Kong Shinmu himself was shocked by the power that he had unleashed. The shadow dragon Fong transformation of the dragon martial skill, compared to the earth martial skill, was much stronger, to the extent that its power had more than doubled. This made his attack on Ji Yuan difficult to block. Break! Kong Shinmu's devouring power constantly transformed into the shadow dragon Fong, forcing Ji Yuan to retreat step by step under the bombardment of the dragon teeth. The starlight barrier that Ji Yuan had condensed soon exploded under the bombardment of the shadow dragon Fong, shattering into fragments of starlight that flickered in the air. As for the starry divine dragon that Ji Yuan had transformed into, it was constantly bombarded by the shadow dragon teeth that were mixed with the light of the golden halberd. Very quickly, it was riddled with wounds. Although the defense of the divine dragon body was not weak, it had not cultivated any body-tempering dragon martial skills after all. Naturally, it was impossible for it to withstand Jiang Shenwu's attacks with just its flesh and blood. In the next moment, the black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into spiraled up, not giving Ji Yuan any chance at all. The devouring power roared like a ferocious dragon, shrouding the injured star divine dragon. Although the innate talent of the stars continued to resist the devouring power surged over and devoured all the power of the stars. Devour! The black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into wrapped around the astral divine dragon in the next moment, and the devouring power instantly eroded into its body. This scene caused all the spectators in the spectator stands to exclaim in surprise. In the past battles with Kong Shinmu, all the dragon martial artists who were entangled and injured by Kong Shinmu would gradually have their strength devoured by the devouring power, and eventually lose to Kong Shinmu. Now, no one expected that Ji Yuan would also be injured by Kong Shinmu, entangled and devoured the flesh and life essence of her body. In such a situation, could Ji Yuan win? Chapter 3981. Someone calculated the breakthroughs that Kong Shinmu had made since he participated in the clan martial competition, and the result was shocking. At the beginning, Kong Shinmu was only a dragon warrior of the Dragon Ascension realm, but on the day of the finals, he had already reached the Divine Martial Realm, and was even at the second level of the Divine Martial Realm. This caused many people to be dumbstruck. None of them could have imagined that Kong Shinmu would be able to make so many breakthroughs in this kind of battle. It must be known that other than Kong Shinmu, very few others could make a breakthrough in this kind of situation. Whether it was a breakthrough in cultivation realm or a breakthrough in dragon martial skill comprehension, it was extremely difficult. If they could make a breakthrough so easily, it would be impossible for them to awaken as a dragon warrior, and at most reach the 4th level of the Divine Martial Realm after 3 years. This kid is indeed a genius like his father, Jiang Zizai. That kind of devouring talent seems to be very powerful. I've never heard of this kind of power before. Even if there was, it wouldn't have such a powerful effect. For example, Ji Yuan can at most use Star Divine characters to weaken his opponent, but he can't use it to strengthen himself. Many people couldn't help but start discussing. In the arena, Ji Yuan was entangled by the black divine dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into. He couldn't break free at all. Even if the power of the stars kept smashing onto Kong Shinmu's black dragon body, he couldn't break it apart. Although the power of the stars kept falling, causing terrifying wounds on the black dragon's body, Kong Shinmu quickly used his devouring power to absorb Ji Yuan's flesh, blood, and life essence, and quickly healed his own injuries. In this kind of situation, Ji Yuan almost gave up very quickly. He knew that it was impossible for him to make a comeback in this kind of situation. The only thing he could do was admit defeat. I admit defeat. Ji Yuan was slightly disappointed, but he had an inexplicable excitement. The main reason was that he had just lost to Meng Chou, and now Kong Shinmu had defeated him. It seemed that he had made great progress. After breaking through the dragon martial skill just now, Kong Shinmu's destructive power was definitely not weaker than Ji Yuan's. Could it be that Kong Shinmu would be able to defeat Meng Chou in the end? I have faith in you, kid. After Ji Yuan admitted defeat, she returned to her human form and said something to Kong Shinmu before leaving the arena. Kong Shinmu didn't pay much attention to his words. He raised his head and saw that the spectators all had looks of disbelief on their faces. They all felt that it was inconceivable that he could defeat Ji Yuan. At this moment, even Shi Yueying, Jiang Yuaning, and the others felt that they had encountered a miracle. In the same battle, Jiang Shenwu actually managed to comprehend 3 moves of the dragon martial skill, breaking through to the dragon grade. This was an unprecedented situation. While they were surprised by Kong Shinmu's achievements, many people began to become excited like Ji Yuan. Could Kong Shinmu defeat Meng Chou in the end? Many people thought so. Seeing that Kong Shinmu had consecutively defeated the other 3 people, and didn't even suffer any injuries in these 3 battles, all of them began to compare him to Meng Chou. Originally, they didn't dare to believe it at all. They didn't even think that the clan martial competition would ultimately be a battle between Kong Shinmu and Meng Chou. But now that the facts were placed in front of their eyes, it caused them to excitedly guess. However, no one dared to open a gambling house in private. After all, this was the clan martial competition, an official event of the Dragon Prison Domain, not an entertainment venue like the Life and Death Arena. If someone opened a gambling house in such a place, they would definitely be chased out. Therefore, the atmosphere in the entire arena could still be controlled. Everyone was only discussing about the possibility of Kong Shinmu or Meng Chou obtaining the final victory. There is no need to doubt Meng Chou's strength. It was extremely easy for him to deal with Ji Yuan. On the other hand, Kong Shinmu still found it difficult to win against Ji Yuan. He even had to make successive breakthroughs before he could succeed. That's right. I'm also optimistic about Meng Chou. One must know that he didn't even use all of his strength before. No, I'm more optimistic about Kong Shinmu. He is the son of the genius Jiang Zizai from 10 years ago. His talent is absolutely extraordinary. His current performance has already proven this point. That's right. I also think that Kong Shinmu is very likely to win. Even if he isn't Meng Chou's match now, it is very likely that he will be able to make a breakthrough when dealing with Meng Chou. At that time, Meng Chou will be at a disadvantage. When Meng Chou heard the discussions of many people around him, his complexion immediately became somewhat unsightly. He had always considered himself to be the strongest expert of this generation in the clan martial competition. Moreover, the battle prowess he displayed was at the absolute level of dominance in the clan martial competition. But now, There was actually someone who said that he might not be Kong Shinmu's match. This kid was obviously only at the second level of the divine martial realm, and he, Meng Cho, had even defeated some powerful dragon warriors at the fifth level of the divine martial realm. How could he be defeated by such a kid? Ji Yuan is too weak. Meng Cho coldly snorted. He didn't put Kong Shinmu in his eyes at all. Even though Kong Shinmu was constantly making breakthroughs in the arena and continuously defeating opponents that seemed impossible to defeat, in Meng Chao's eyes, Kong Shinmu's strength was still not worth mentioning. After all, a year ago, Meng Cho was almost on equal footing with the current Ji Yuan. Now, his strength was even more unfathomable. When he was fighting with Ji Yuan, he only used half of his strength. If he encountered some special circumstances, he could even temporarily stimulate his potential and make himself stronger. This was his final trump card. Of course, Meng Cho didn't think that on such a small stage like the clan martial competition, someone would be able to force him to use his trump card to stimulate his potential. The final battle began. As the voice of the host of the Dragon Prison City's arena faded away, Meng Cho directly stepped onto the arena. Do you need to rest? Meng Cho looked down at Kong Shinmu and coldly asked. After all, Kong Shinmu had just fought with Ji Yuan. If he were to fight now, people might say that he was humiliated and took advantage of others. He didn't want people to talk behind his back and say that he didn't have a glorious victory. If Kong Shinmu wanted to rest, he could let Kong Shinmu rest for a while before coming up to fight. There's no need to rest. This is the final battle. Kong Shinmu said indifferently, it won't be too late to rest after this battle. In any case, he also wanted to defeat Meng Cho and obtain the final victory. Therefore, he didn't need to care about what Meng Cho was thinking about. Although he had just fought with Ji Yuan, he still devoured some of Ji Yuan's flesh and blood essence. Therefore, he didn't suffer any injuries. He was even at his peak condition and didn't need to rest at all. However, in the eyes of Meng Cho and the many dragon warriors in the spectator stands, Kong Shinmu was openly looking down on Meng Cho. This made Meng Cho even more furious. Then let's begin. You said that you don't want to rest. I hope you won't regret it when the time comes. Chapter 3982. In the arena, the final battle of the clan martial competition had finally begun. No one had expected that this battle would be between Kong Shinmu and Meng Cho. Zhang Feng and Ji Yuan, who they thought were likely to be the champions, had now been defeated by Kong Shinmu. There was still Meng Cho left. Just like Kong Shinmu, he had won all his matches in the finals. Now, both sides were pulling at the heartstrings of all the dragon warriors in the arena. Even a few sacred dragons were paying close attention to this battle. There was no need to mention sacred dragon Shi Tao. He was extremely optimistic about Kong Shinmu. The better Kong Shinmu performed, the better his foresight was. He absolutely hoped that Kong Shinmu could obtain the final victory and become the champion of the clan martial competition. As for Sacred Dragon Xia Yan and the other two sacred dragons, they did not want to see Kong Shinmu being too outstanding. After all, if Kong Shinmu won the championship, it would be a great encouragement to the Shi clan residents. It was very likely that the balance between the sacred dragon residences in Dragon Prison City would be broken. Previously, Sacred Dragon Xia Yan had already suffered at the hands of Kong Shinmu. Even his son Xia Tianhan had died at the hands of Kong Shinmu. Of course, he did not want to see Kong Shinmu win now. He looked at the arena coldly and focused on analyzing the strength of Kong Shinmu and Meng Cho. An expert like Sacred Dragon could roughly tell who was stronger between Kong Shinmu and Meng Cho. Unfortunately, even so, they could not tell who would win in the end. This was because there were simply too many factors that could affect the outcome of a battle between dragon martial artists, so many that it was innumerable. Just like before, in the eyes of Sacred Dragon Xia Yan, Kong Shinmu was not as strong as Zhang Feng or Ji Yuan. In the end, Kong Shinmu made a breakthrough in both battles, allowing him to surpass his opponents in one fell swoop and finally fight against Meng Cho. No matter what, Kong Shinmu's strength was obvious to all. However, no one could guarantee who would win against Meng Cho. Even Kong Shinmu himself wasn't sure if he could defeat Meng Cho. Heavenly Rock Binding Seal. Both of them transformed into mystical dragons. Meng Cho, who had transformed into a gigantic stone mystical dragon, swung his tail, and countless gigantic rocks fell from the sky, condensing into a few gigantic arms, trying to bind Kong Shinmu within them. This was the method he had used against Ji Yuan, and it had greatly restricted Ji Yuan's movements. Now that he used it again, Kong Shinmu saw through it. Sky-breaking dragon shadow. Without any hesitation, Kong Shinmu directly used his dragon martial skill, which had stepped into the dragon realm. His entire black dragon body was like a dark stream of light in the air, flashing and dodging those gigantic arms. Moreover, he left a small cluster of devouring power in his place, which was directly grabbed by those gigantic arms and crushed. Unfortunately, the devouring power wrapped around those gigantic arms and began to devour their power, allowing Kong Shinmu to continuously increase his resistance against the giant rock talent. Without any hesitation, Kong Shinmu launched an attack against Meng Chou. There had never been a dragon warrior who could easily dodge Meng Chou's attack and counterattack at the same time. Now, Kong Shinmu's whole body was shrouded in a dark devouring power, instantly condensing countless golden halberds, enveloping Meng Chou, who had transformed into a gigantic stone mystical dragon. Each of these golden halberds was like a golden meteor falling from the sky, carrying an extremely strong impact. If it was a battle before the finals, with Kong Shinmu's current strength, he could easily kill his opponent. Unfortunately, his opponent was Meng Chou. Humph! Heavenly rock binding seal. Meng Chou snorted coldly. The giant rock power in his body moved according to his will, and from mid-air, several gigantic arms stretched out, directly grabbing the golden halberd shot by Kong Shinmu in mid-air, and then crushed them in one fell swoop. The giant rock power then condensed into countless mountain peaks, bombarding towards Kong Shinmu. Dragon Rocky Mountain Break. Meng Chou, who had transformed into a gigantic stone mystical dragon, was like a dragon god, casually exploding countless gigantic stone dragon mountains, condensing from the void, and smashing towards Kong Shinmu. These gigantic stone dragon mountains condensed in different directions, forming a circle to surround Kong Shinmu, making it impossible for him to dodge with his speed. It was much stronger than the heavenly rock binding seal just now. However, when Kong Shinmu saw this, purple magical crystals continuously appeared on the surface of the black mystical dragon, accompanied by a flash of golden light, and then swept towards one of the gigantic stone dragon mountains. When he was observing the battle between Meng Chou and Ji Yuan, he had already thought about how he would deal with Meng Chou's two moves if he were to fight against him. Now, he did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. He directly crashed into one of the giant rock dragon mountains. Taking advantage of the fact that these dragon rock mountains had not completely gathered, he smashed that giant rock dragon mountain into pieces. In the next moment, his entire black mystical dragon approached Meng Chou, and the shadow dragon tooth transformation erupted once again. The devouring power condensed into countless shadow dragon teeth, sweeping down from the sky, like ghosts passing through, surging towards Meng Chou, who had transformed into a gigantic stone mystical dragon. Naive. Meng Chou did not even move from the position of the gigantic stone mystical dragon. He just waved his dragon claws, and suddenly, an endless power of gigantic stone emerged from the ground, forming a stone pillar that rushed out of the ground, rapidly blocking the sky full of shadow dragon teeth, blocking all the shadow dragon teeth, and not being able to harm him at all. In the next moment, these stone pillars that emerged from the ground directly rushed towards the black mystical dragon in mid-air, completely surrounding Kong Shinmu. These stone pillars were like a cage, making it impossible for Kong Shinmu to escape. Gigantic stone sky pillar. Meng Chou sneered, and a mystical dragon roared. These gigantic stone pillars directly exploded in mid-air, and the terrifying destructive power completely enveloped Kong Shinmu. When this technique was used, many dragon warriors, who were stronger than Meng Chou, were surprised. They could feel the terrifying destructive power contained in this gigantic stone sky pillar. Even a dragon warrior at the 5th level of the divine martial arts realm would most likely be seriously injured by this technique. If he had used the gigantic stone sky pillar before, perhaps even Ji Yuan and Zhang Feng would have no way to survive. Now that he used this technique to deal with Kong Shinmu, people's expressions changed drastically. If Kong Shinmu could not withstand this technique, he would most likely die. At this moment, even the holy dragon of the Shi clan, Shi Tao's expression changed. He was now very nervous. It was not easy to find Jiang Zizai's son, who was so talented, and also fated to be with his daughter. If he were to die in this clan martial arts competition, it would be a pity. Chapter 3983. The final battle of the clan martial competition. On the fighting stage, Kong Shinmu and Meng Chou fought to the death. Meng Chou erupted with a powerful dragon martial skill, Giant Rock Sky Pillar. This was a 4th-grade dragon martial skill that had already been cultivated to the dragon level. Furthermore, by relying on the tyrannical inherent skill in Meng Chou's body, it exploded out with a terrifying destructive power that far surpassed those of the same realm. This was the first time he used this dragon martial skill on the fighting stage, and his opponent was Kong Shinmu. This already made people admit that other than Meng Chou, Kong Shinmu was already the strongest dragon warrior that had awakened in the past 3 years. Regardless of whether it was Ji Yuan or Zhang Feng, none of them were a match for Kong Shinmu. Right now, Ji Yuan was sitting in the spectator stands. Beside her was Ji Yeshuan. This Kong Shinmu. I'm afraid he won't be able to withstand this move. Ji Yuan's expression was somewhat solemn. He had fought with both Meng Chou and Kong Shinmu before, so he knew very well how strong the two of them were. Even if Kong Shinmu had broken through the dragon-level dragon martial skill 3 times in the end, there was still a gap between him and Meng Chou. One must know that the giant rock sky pillar that Meng Chou was using right now was much stronger than the previous Dragon Rock Mountain break. Not necessarily. Ji Yeshuan narrowed her eyes. She was not old, but her cultivation talent was extremely astonishing. She was the undisputed champion of the previous clan martial competition. At that time, she did not even use half of her strength to easily suppress the other dragon warriors in the finals and obtain first place in the clan martial competition. Right now, she was younger than Ji Yuan, but in front of her, Ji Yuan could only listen to her orders. Now that Ji Yeshuan had said, not necessarily, Ji Yuan was rather surprised. Could it be that Ji Yeshuan had such a high evaluation of this Kong Shinmu? In the arena, Kong Shinmu faced the giant rock sky pillar that had suddenly condensed and rushed out from the fighting stage below. A terrifying explosion sounded out, and these giant rock sky pillars continuously exploded around the black dragon that he had transformed into, forming waves of destructive and ferocious waves of rocks that poured towards him. Every piece of gravel that exploded from these giant rock pillars contained extremely strong lethality, and even Kong Shinmu couldn't withstand it with his purple magical crystal. The devouring power in his body continued to condense on the surface of the black dragon's body, forming a thick layer of purple magic crystal. Unfortunately, this layer of purple magic crystal was easily shattered by the rubble. So powerful! Kong Shinmu's heart skipped a beat. Without any hesitation, the golden light emitted by the heavenly saint's halberd fused into his purple magic crystal, making it even tougher. In this way, the devouring power in the purple magical crystal could finally devour a little bit of the boulder power contained in the opponent's gravel. This allowed Kong Shinmu's dragon god body to gradually condense an even thicker layer of giant rock barrier. This layer of giant rock barrier was specially used to defend against the power of giant rock. Once it was attacked by giant rock's innate ability, this layer of giant rock barrier would block a large portion of the attack. The power of the giant rock bear that I absorbed in the life and death arena can finally be put to use now. Kong Shinmu thought to himself. He gritted his teeth, and the devouring power in his body erupted. Endless shadow dragon teeth condensed from his body and shot out explosively. These shadow dragon teeth collided with the gravel formed by the explosion of the opponent's giant rock pillars, causing a terrifying vortex of power to erupt. Amidst the loud collision, the black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into flew out from the center of the vortex. He took this opportunity to get away from the center of the explosion, but it could be seen that he was in a sorry state. The purple magic crystal on his body was almost destroyed, and there was even dragon blood seeping out. He looked a little miserable. He was injured once again, and now Meng Chou was in a completely unharmed state. This scene surprised many people around, and at the same time, many people breathed a sigh of relief. Shi Yueying, Sacred Dragon Shi Tao, Jiang Yuaning and the others who were concerned about Kong Shinmu were now relieved. Fortunately, Kong Shinmu had not been instantly killed by his opponent. As such, there was still a chance of victory, but it would require him to put his life on the line to have a chance. This was something they did not want to see. Even if he lost this battle, Kong Shinmu would not suffer any losses. In fact, Shi Yueying really did not want to see Kong Shinmu risk his life for this. But she was also very clear about what was on Kong Shinmu's mind. I wonder where his father, Jiang Zizai, is now? Shi Yueying clenched her hands tightly as she looked nervously at the arena. She glanced at the Jiang clan people in the spectator stands, and then at Zhongrong. The last time she went with Kong Shinmu to the inn where the Jiang clan stayed, she naturally understood the grudge between Zhongrong and Kong Shinmu. As long as Kong Shinmu became the champion of the clan tournament, he would have enough authority to influence Zhongrong, the patriarch of the Jiang clan. Otherwise it would be impossible. This was the reason why Kong Shinmu was fighting with his life on the line. Shi Yueying was very clear about this, so she had no way to stop Kong Shinmu. She could only secretly cheer for him. Kill! On the arena, after Kong Shinmu rushed out of the vortex of energy, he turned around and flew towards Meng Chou. His body shone with a golden light, and a golden halberd rapidly condensed on both sides of his black divine dragon body. The power of a dragon-grade weapon surrounded him. Courting death. Seeing Kong Shinmu's heavily injured appearance, Meng Chou's face was filled with disdain. He did not put Kong Shinmu in his eyes at all. Although he was slightly surprised that Kong Shinmu was able to withstand his giant rock sky pillar, it did not make him take Kong Shinmu seriously. One had to know that he had not used his full strength yet. Numerous giant rock sky pillars once again emerged from the arena below. They flew towards Kong Shinmu and exploded in mid-air. The power of the giant rock sky pillars surged into a wave of gravel, heading towards Kong Shinmu. Don't use the same move on me a second time. Kong Shinmu clenched his teeth. Although he was seriously injured, he did not show the slightest bit of cowardice. Taking the opportunity when Meng Chou used the same move, he swung his dragon tail, and the sky-piercing dragon shadow was displayed. Behind him, there was only a black divine dragon shadow. The explosion of the giant rock sky pillars continued to surge behind him, but it was unable to catch up. Behind him, the giant rock sky pillars continued to explode. And the black mystical dragon that he had transformed into had already pounced on Meng Chou, who had transformed into a giant rock. With the golden halberd light of the dragon rank halberd of the heavenly saint, he blasted Meng Chou away and crashed into the outer barrier of the battle arena. The entire arena was filled with gasps of surprise. This was the first time someone was able to get close to Meng Chou and send him flying. But very quickly, the crowd laughed. Because even though Kong Shinmu was imposing, it did not affect Meng Chou in the slightest. We almost forgot that the power of the giant rock sky pillar is an innate ability that is extremely strong in defense. That's right, Meng Chou's strongest point is his defense, not his offense. Previously, he was too strong, and no one needed him to use his defensive ability. But now, even if Kong Shinmu could withstand one of Meng Chou's attacks, it would be too difficult for him to counterattack. In other words, it would be impossible. The deafening shadow and golden halberd radiance continuously landed on the giant rock sky pillar that Meng Chou had transformed into, but they were unable to break through the defense of the giant rock sky pillar. How is it? Chapter 3984. Kong Shinmu's pitch-black divine dragon body was like a kite with a broken string, heavily smashing into the barrier at the edge of the arena. Even his bones seemed to have broken. Meng Chou's strength was too strong. Although he was at the 4th level of the divine martial arts realm like Zhong Feng and Ji Yuan, his strength wasn't on the same level. He could even fight against an ordinary 5th level divine martial arts realm cultivator. Right now, Kong Shinmu was only at the 2nd level of the god martial realm. Even if he could defeat Zhong Feng and Ji Yuan, he had almost reached his limit. If he wanted to defeat Meng Chou again, it would be impossible unless he made another breakthrough. However, in terms of cultivation level, Jiang Shenwu had consecutively broken through twice during the clan martial competition, and was almost in a perfect state. It was simply too difficult for him to make another breakthrough in terms of cultivation level. As for the dragon martial skill, he had made 3 consecutive breakthroughs when he was fighting against Ji Yuan. He was also in his best state. Now, it was impossible for Kong Shinmu to continue making breakthroughs. His black dragon eyes carried a trace of seriousness. Although he had fought against the violent boulder bear in the life and death arena, which made his defense against the power of boulders far surpass that of ordinary dragon martial artists, he still felt a great deal of pressure when facing Meng Chou. Since it's like this, I can only look for other methods. Kong Shinmu did not give up on this battle. After all, this was the last battle. As long as he defeated Meng Chou, he would be the champion of this clan martial competition. He would have enough weight to pull Jiang Rong down from the position of Jiang clan patriarch. Apart from cultivation and dragon martial skill, if Kong Shinmu wanted to make another breakthrough, he could only start with dragon weapon. He now had the dragon-grade halberd of Heavenly Saint. Although it had helped him a lot, in fact, he had not used the halberd of Heavenly Saint's greatest power. The reason why dragon weapon was called dragon weapon was because it was a special weapon that could fuse with a dragon warrior. Using the innate power to activate it could display a part of its power, but if it could fuse with a dragon weapon, it could display an even stronger destructive power. However, very few dragon martial artists could fuse with a dragon weapon. After all, this required the most intimate connection between the dragon warrior and the dragon soldier, and both sides knew each other like the back of their hands. Kong Shinmu had just obtained the Sky Saint's halberd not too long ago, and he had used it quite a few times. However, his understanding of the Sky Saint's halberd was still lacking. This made it extremely difficult for him to fuse with the dragon weapon. When he was flung away by Meng Cho sneered. He raised his hand, and the power of giant rock mountain condensed in mid-air. It once again condensed into several gigantic mountains. He displayed the fourth-grade dragon martial technique of the Dragon Rock Mountain Break. A terrifying aura pressed down on Kong Shinmu. It was as if the entire sky was collapsing. Just as the black dragon Kong Shinmu had transformed into was about to be devoured by the mountains condensed from the power of the boulders, a heart-palpitating aura suddenly emerged from Kong Shinmu's body. Of course, only Kong Shinmu could sense this aura, and it caused his expression to change slightly. This aura belonged to the consciousness of the black dragon blood essence in his body. Previously, when he swallowed the saliva of the devil dragon and advanced from a mortal dragon to a true dragon, Kong Shinmu had felt this kind of aura and power. It was brought about by the black dragon blood essence in his body, as if it could devour the heavens. Now that this aura appeared again, he discovered that the Sky Saint's halberd in his hand began to tremble, as if it had seen something terrifying. Immediately after, the Sky Saint's halberd turned into a golden light and began to fuse with the black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into. This scene made Kong Shinmu a little dumbfounded. What was going on with the Sky Saint's halberd? Was it frightened by the aura of the black dragon blood essence and took the initiative to fuse with him? The surrounding people were even more baffled. Kong Shinmu, this black dragon, actually began to fuse with the dragon-grade dragon weapon in his hand in such a desperate situation. It was simply incredible. Everyone knew that it hadn't been long since Kong Shinmu obtained this dragon-grade dragon weapon, so how could he fuse with it so quickly? It must be known that ordinary dragon warriors would need at least several years of accumulation to fuse with a dragon weapon, and some might not even be able to do it even after dozens or hundreds of years. However, Kong Shinmu had done it in just 1 or 2 months. It must be said that this scene shocked everyone in the surroundings. Even the experts who had inherited the Holy Dragon blood essence had a serious look in their eyes, including the Holy Dragon Shi Tao of the Shi clan residents. Although he was very optimistic about Kong Shinmu's talent, he also didn't expect that the Sky Saint's halberd would fuse with Kong Shinmu so quickly in his hands. Just how talented is this kid? Holy Dragon Shi Tao had a solemn look on his face. He had never seen such an existence in his life, and he had never even heard of someone who could directly fuse with a dragon weapon in just 1 or 2 months. After fusing with the dragon weapon, Kong Shinmu's combat prowess would definitely rise to another level. However, no one knew why the Sky Saint's halberd would choose to fuse with Kong Shinmu. It was because of the pressure from the black dragon blood essence. The Sky Saint's halberd received a message that if it didn't fuse with Kong Shinmu, it would be devoured by this force, and this devouring force was something that no one could resist. Not to mention a mere dragon-grade dragon weapon, even if it wanted to devour the entire Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, it would be a piece of cake. After sensing this aura, the Sky Saint's halberd made a decisive choice. Although it was very reluctant, fusing with Kong Shinmu was only temporary. After all, it was better than being devoured directly. The dragon-grade dragon weapon also had its own consciousness, but this consciousness was rather vague and not very clear. It only had the instinct to protect itself. If it felt threatened, then it would do as the other party said. There was nothing too magical about it. When the dragon rank halberd of the Heavenly Saint fused with the body of the black dragon that Jiang Shenwu had transformed into, his entire body flickered with a resplendent and dazzling golden light. A terrifying power instantly erupted out, and his entire body seemed as if it was made of gold and iron, explosively breaking through the numerous dragon rocky mountains. Kill! Kong Shinmu did not hesitate. Although he was very curious why the black dragon's consciousness would help him now was not the time to think about this problem. He felt that the strength in his body had almost doubled. The dragon-grey dragon weapon, the Sky Saint's halberd, had completely fused with his body, causing his combat prowess to instantly soar, reaching an unprecedented tyrannical state. This sudden burst of aura made Meng Qiu and the surrounding spectators jump in fright. This kid, he actually fused with a dragon-grey dragon weapon. This time Meng Qiu is in danger. I didn't expect him to have such talent, or is this a trump card that he has been hiding all this time? I don't know. In any case, the result of this battle will be out soon. Let's just watch and find out. Countless people were waiting with bated breath as they focused their attention on the battlefield. Chapter 3985. Kong Xinmu and the Heavenly Sacred Halberd fused together. The golden light and the pitch-black devouring power fused together, forming a unique and terrifying power. Seeing this, Meng Qiu's expression became unprecedentedly serious. A moment ago, he was still confident in his victory and felt that his defense was indestructible. But now, facing the explosive power of Kong Xinmu, he began to doubt whether he could withstand Kong Xinmu's attack. Because right now, Kong Xinmu's aura was too strong, far surpassing the strength that Kong Xinmu had displayed at the beginning. At this moment, his strength was more than double. No matter how confident Meng Qiu was, it was only when he was facing the dragon warriors of the clan martial competition. And now, the strength that Kong Xinmu had displayed was far from what the dragon warriors of the clan martial competition could compare to. All those who try to defeat me will submit to my feet. Meng Qiu shouted angrily. The giant rock divine dragon that he had transformed into roared, and layer after layer of the giant rock inherent skill wrapped around his body. Earth-shaking rock formation. The power of the giant rock condensed on the surface of the giant rock divine dragon, forming layers of earth-like barriers. It was as if his entire body was wrapped up, forming a giant ball condensed from the power of the giant rock. This giant ball continuously rotated in midair, and then it charged towards the direction that Kong Xinmu was rushing over at an extremely fast speed. Shadow Dragon Fong Transformation. The eyes of the black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into flickered with a golden light. In an instant, the devouring power condensed into a shadow dragon Fong, almost forming a torrential rain of dragon teeth that poured down from the sky towards Meng Qiu. Both sides used their strongest techniques. If it was the previous Kong Xinmu, he would have no way to deal with Meng Qiu's move. Because the other party had transformed into a giant rock ball, and its speed was extremely fast, making it impossible to dodge. Not only was its destructive power extremely terrifying, it even wrapped around Meng Qiu's body to protect it. But now it was different. Under the pressure of the Black Dragon's will, the Heavenly Saint's halberd was forced to fuse with Kong Xinmu, erupting with its full power. The golden light of the Heavenly Saint halberd wrapped around each of the Shadow Dragon teeth, and very quickly, the Shadow Dragon teeth bombarded the huge stone ball. Each Shadow Dragon tooth blasted out a sizable hole on the stone ball. The innate abilities of both sides converged in midair. All the dragon martial artists who were watching the battle were concentrating their attention. They had now personally witnessed Kong Xinmu's formidable dragon martial skill, which actually broke the defense of Meng Qiu, who is known as the strongest martial artist in this clan martial meet. The giant rock sphere was enveloped by the Shadow Dragon teeth, and it didn't take long for it to be corroded. The devouring power had completely broken through Meng Qiu's defense, and Meng Qiu's rock dragon form was exposed to the Shadow Dragon teeth. Kill! Kong Xinmu, who had transformed into a pitch-black mystical dragon, was in the limelight at this moment. He was full of vigor. Without a doubt, this was his strongest moment. Even when facing Meng Qiu, he could still defeat him in one move. This was the strength of fusing with a dragon-level dragon weapon. This was also something that was hard for everyone to imagine. They never thought that Kong Xinmu would be able to fuse with a dragon-level dragon weapon so quickly. This kid is probably using this as a trump card. I'm afraid he already has thoughts of becoming the champion of the clan martial meet. That's right. From the way he went to the life and death arena to challenge those demonic beasts a few days ago, we can tell that he has long wanted to fight against Meng Qiu, Ji Yuan and the others. This kid, his talent is terrifying, and his mind is meticulous. He walks step by step to this point truly powerful. Everyone immediately discussed spiritedly. Because they saw that under Kong Xinmu's fierce attack, Meng Qiu was actually unable to withstand it. The huge rock energy on his entire body was continuously being destroyed. And then, Wounds began to appear on the rock dragon's body. Even if Meng Qiu used all his strength, he would still be unable to withstand Kong Shinmu's attack. In this kind of situation, even if Kong Shinmu lost in the end, everyone had no choice but to admit his strength. Furthermore, from the looks of it, it was very difficult for Kong Shinmu to lose. Earlier, everyone had their doubts towards Jiang Shenwu's strength, so they mocked and ridiculed him, and they stopped at nothing. But now, when he suppressed Meng Qiu, who was originally the most popular person in the clan martial meet, no one doubted Kong Shinmu's strength anymore. He would be the strongest person in this year's clan martial meet. Under these circumstances, most people no longer had any doubts about Kong Shinmu. Furthermore, when they connected the fact that his father was Jiang Zizai, whose name shook the dragon prison domain 10 years ago, they praised him endlessly, praising the holy dragon Shi Tao for his unique foresight. As for those who originally looked down on Kong Shinmu, their hearts were now filled with jealousy and lingering fear. For example, Jiang Yuaning. Since the beginning of the clan martial meet, she had been constantly mocking Kong Shinmu and looking down on him. But now, it seemed that her previous mockery of Kong Shinmu was like that of a fool. If Kong Shinmu becomes the champion of the clan martial meet, will he come back to cause trouble for me? Jiang Yuaning couldn't help but think, and then felt a little afraid. However, what she didn't know was that Kong Shinmu didn't even put her in his eyes. If it wasn't for Jiang Rong, Kong Shinmu really wouldn't even bother to compete for the championship of the clan martial meet. Of course, from the looks of it, it was still beneficial for Kong Shinmu to fight for the championship once. After all, this allowed him to constantly make breakthroughs in battle, and his dragon martial skill had also been cultivated to a higher level. He had even reached a level where he could fuse with the dragon-level dragon weapon, the halberd of heavenly saints. After these few days of fighting in the clan martial meet, Kong Shinmu's strength had completely changed. Compared to before, it had increased by several levels. At this time, even if he were to face Meng Qiu, he would be able to easily deal with him. Sky-piercing dragon shadow. Roaring sky dragon claw. Devour. Kong Shinmu consecutively executed 2 of the 5th-grade dragon martial skills. The pitch-black divine dragon's figure quickly swept to Meng Qiu's side. The dragon claw of the violent slaughter dragon danced and directly grabbed onto Meng Qiu. Then, the devouring power corroded into the wound of the boulder divine dragon. Want to defeat me? Dream on. The entire body of the boulder divine dragon erupted, once again using the giant rock sky pillar. Countless giant rock sky pillars shot out from below, attacking Kong Shinmu with a loud bang. Then, they exploded beside the 2 of them, and the giant rock sky pillar's innate skill completely enveloped the 2 of them. Magic crystal. Under the illumination of the golden light, the purple magic crystal appeared on Kong Shinmu's body of the divine dragon. Then, it blocked the explosion of the giant rock sky pillar, and basically didn't suffer any damage. Fusing with the dragon-level dragon weapon, the halberd of heavenly saints, was equivalent to raising Kong Shinmu's cultivation realm by 1 level, giving him an absolute advantage when facing Meng Qiu. On the other hand, Meng Qiu himself was injured more severely by his own attack. As the devouring power continued to corrode his body, Meng Qiu clearly felt that he was becoming weaker and weaker. Not long after, the giant rock shattered, and Meng Qiu's entire body crashed to the ground, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. Chapter 3986. On the stage, Kong Shinmu's black dragon form had completely suppressed the rocky divine dragon. Everyone was shocked by the battle power he had displayed. Meng Qiu was originally considered the strongest in the clan tournament. Who would have thought that he would lose to Kong Shinmu? Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. Although the rocky divine dragon had yet to admit defeat, it looked like he was powerless to fight back. Meng Qiu lost. In the Meng tribal clan spectator stands, everyone's faces were gloomy. They didn't think that Kong Shinmu could defeat Meng Qiu, but now it seemed that the situation had completely reversed. No one thought that Kong Shinmu could actually fuse with the dragon-grade dragon weapon, the halberd of heavenly saint. I admit defeat on behalf of Meng Qiu. Finally, an elder of the Meng tribal clan stood up and admitted defeat on behalf of Meng Qiu. He was very clear of Meng Qiu's strength, and also his character. With Meng Qiu's strength, it was impossible for him to defeat Kong Shinmu. But Meng Qiu was not someone who would admit defeat. If he did not stand up and admit defeat, Meng Cho would probably die on the stage. There was no need for that. After all, it was just a competition. Meng Cho was the most talented dragon warrior in the Meng tribal clan. If he died, the Meng tribal clan would suffer a great loss. As the elder stood up and admitted defeat, the result of this battle was finally settled. The Dragon Prisoner City's organizer announced that this year's clan tournament had come to an end. The final champion was Kong Shin-mu. The runner-up was Meng Cho, Ji Yuan third, and Meng Chong fourth. Zhang Feng, who had high hopes at the beginning, had only obtained fifth place. It could be said that he was the one who had the biggest difference from the expectations of the clan tournament. The key reason was that when Zhang Feng fought with Kong Shin-mu, he had overdrafted his body. In the end, he still couldn't defeat Kong Shin-mu, which led to this result. Kong Shin-mu obtained first place. The Jiang tribal clan will receive a huge amount of cultivation resources for the next 3 years. Amazing. He is indeed the son of Jiang Zizai. It seems that the Jiang tribal clan will rise again. That might not be the case. You must know that the Jiang clan's patriarch and Kong Shin-mu seem to have some conflict. I'm afraid it won't be easy for him to rise. Many people began to judge the future situation. When Kong Shin-mu returned to the Jiang clan spectator stand, Jiang Yuaning immediately welcomed him with a face full of joy. Congratulations, Kong Shin-mu, for finally becoming the champion of the clan tournament. Jiang Liuxue also stood up and said with a smile, "It's been a long time since someone from our Jiang clan has become the champion of the clan martial meet. The last time was when Jiang Zizai was there." She originally did not have much enmity towards Kong Shin-mu. Now that Kong Shin-mu had won such glory for the Jiang clan, she naturally did not have any objections towards Kong Shin-mu. Instead, she viewed him as a genius worth befriending. Thank you. Now that Kong Shin-mu had finally become the champion, he was in a good mood. He glanced at Jiang Yuaning. This girl had silently supported him from the beginning and had never changed. Even in Great Jiang's Dragon City, it was her reminder that allowed Kong Shin-mu to escape. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Jiang Rong's men. Next, it was time for Kong Shin-mu to deal with Jiang Rong. Kong Shin-mu, you have become the champion of the clan martial meet. What are your plans now? At this time, Sacred Dragon Shi Tao and Shi Yueying walked over and congratulated Kong Shin-mu. Shi Yueying looked at Kong Shin-mu with concern and asked him about his plans. These days, she had been with Kong Shin-mu and had developed a good impression of him. Although it was not to that extent, she hoped to have more interactions with Kong Shin-mu in the future. I want to find my father. Kong Shin-mu said with a serious expression. Jiang Rong seems to know something. I have to ask him about the details. Well, if he doesn't say, you can tell me. I'll make the decision for you. Sacred Dragon Shi Tao laughed. After all, Jiang Zizai is a genius of our dragon prison domain. We are also very concerned about his whereabouts. Thank you, senior. Kong Shin-mu nodded. Now that he had become the champion of the clan martial meet, he was the focus of attention of the entire dragon prison domain. Moreover, Sacred Dragon Shi Tao would definitely do his best to help him find Jiang Zizai's whereabouts. Jiang Rong, who was standing nearby, heard Sacred Dragon Shi Tao's words and immediately knew that things were not good. He knew a little about Jiang Zizai's disappearance, but he did not know the specifics. Not long ago, he had tried to kill Kong Shin-mu, so he must have held a grudge against him. It would be difficult for him to keep his position as patriarch. But now was not the time for Kong Shin-mu to deal with the internal affairs of the Jiang clan. Because he had become the champion, people from other clans came to congratulate him. For example, Ji clan. Ji Yeshuan came with Ji Yuan to congratulate Kong Shin-mu. I didn't expect you to grow so fast. I look forward to the moment when you rise. Good luck. Although Ji Yeshuan was young, she was extremely talented. Now that she looked like a senior, no one would think that she was arrogant. After all, with her current age and cultivation, she was destined to have great achievements in the future. Thank you. Kong Shin-mu said solemnly. Ji Yeshuan had saved him once before, and he had always remembered it. Speaking of which, he felt a little sorry for her regarding the matter of the Qitian spirit grass. Of course, Ji Yeshuan did not take the matter to heart, so he did not bring it up. At this time, the other two Sacred Dragon experts from the Sacred Dragon clan also came to congratulate Kong Shin-mu. After all, Kong Shinmu had become the champion of the clan tournament. It could be said that he had created too many miracles since the preliminaries. In addition to Jiang Zizai's reputation, he had enough weight in the eyes of the Sacred Dragon experts. Only the Sacred Dragon Xia Yan of the Xia clan residents did not come to say anything to Kong Shinmu. After all, Kong Shinmu had killed his son, so he naturally could not come to congratulate him. Seeing that Kong Shinmu had become the champion, Xia Yan could only snort coldly, turn around and leave. To him, although this matter was very unpleasant, it was still just a clan tournament. The 17 clans in the Dragon Prison domain were nothing to the Sacred Dragon residents of the Dragon Prison City. The clan tournament was just a form of entertainment. The individual reward for the clan martial competition is a great source dragon pellet, refined from gathering 13 types of precious medicinal ingredients. It can raise the cultivation of a dragon martial artist by quite a bit, and if one has enough talent, it can even directly raise one's cultivation by 1 level. Sacred Dragon Shi Tao said to Kong Shinmu with a smile, "The reward for this person, as well as the reward for your Jiang clan, will be distributed in a while." "Great, let's see if you can break through to the 3rd level of the divine martial realm," Shi Yueying said with a smile. "If you succeed, your strength will increase by another level, and you will not be comparable to other dragon warriors of the same generation. Even Ji Yeshuan will not be as good as you after a period of time." Chapter 39-87. Kong Shinmu did not take Sacred Dragon Shi Tao's words to heart. Whether or not he could surpass Ji Yeshuan was not a problem for him. As long as he was given time, no dragon warrior in the world would be his match. And now, the clan martial competition's individual champion's reward, the Great Source Dragon Pellet, was extremely precious to him. This was a treasure that could allow him to continue to raise his cultivation level. Its value was immeasurable, and it was a reward that Dragon King had specially given to encourage the younger generation. Every 3 years, only one of these pellets would appear. The champion of this year's clan martial competition was Kong Shinmu's, so the Great Source Dragon Pellet for these 3 years belonged to him. After the clan martial competition ended, everyone dispersed while discussing. The Jiang clan followed Jiang Rong and left the clan martial competition grounds as fast as they could. Before they left, they told Kong Shinmu that if he had anything to say, they could talk about it after returning to Great Jiang Dragon City. Kong Shinmu did not think too much about Jiang Rong's words. Now that the matter had been settled, there was no need to be anxious. After he consumed the Great Source Dragon Pellet and saw if it could improve, he would return to deal with Jiang Rong's matter. The most important thing was to find traces of his father, Jiang Zizai. Black Dragon, what kind of existence are you? What happened to my father?" Every time Kong Shinmu thought of the scene of his father being devoured by the Black Dragon when he awakened and became a dragon warrior, he would feel a sense of trepidation. The Black Dragon's consciousness and aura told Kong Shinmu that it was definitely an extraordinary existence. It was impossible for it to be just an ordinary divine dragon's blood essence. After the clan martial competition ended, everyone dispersed. Some people were happy, while others were worried. However, the majority of them were worried, including the other Sacred Dragon level experts. They were all very unhappy with the rise of Kong Shinmu. After all, this meant that Sacred Dragon Shi Tao had obtained the help of another expert. Especially Sacred Dragon Xia Yan. He snorted coldly and left without saying anything. It's a pity that Dragon King did not personally appear this time. Perhaps Lord Dragon King is busy with something. Holy Dragon Shi Tao said with some regret. Then brought Kong Shinmu back to the Shi clan residence. Very quickly, the reward for the clan martial competition was sent over by the imprisoned Dragon King. A Great Source Dragon Pill was sent to Kong Shinmu. The fact that you were able to fuse with the Heavenly Saint's halberd is truly unexpected. If you consume this Grand Source Dragon Pill, your strength will be unparalleled among your peers. No one will be able to stop you. Holy Dragon Shi Tao laughed. He was very optimistic about the talent Kong Shinmu had displayed. My current strength is still too weak. I have to work harder. Kong Shinmu shook his head. He was not satisfied with this. The existence of the Black Dragon caused him to be unable to calm down. The will of the Black Dragon was truly terrifying. It was like a black hole that could devour everything in the world. It seemed to have the ability to devour the heavens, causing Kong Shinmu's heart to palpitate. You're right. Go and consume the Grand Source Dragon Pill first. Holy Dragon Shi Tao waved his hand and had Kong Shinmu be sent to the training grounds. Shi Yueying followed him all the way and bid farewell to Kong Shinmu. After all, cultivation was an important matter, and no matter who it was, it could affect Kong Shinmu. Kong Shinmu was still rather grateful towards the Shi clan residents. After all, the Holy Dragon Shi Tao had helped him a lot. If not for this heavenly saint's halberd, he definitely wouldn't have been able to obtain first place in the clan martial competition. Even if Kong Shinmu had saved Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong's lives in the beginning, the Holy Dragon Shi Tao had long since returned the favor. Begin training. Kong Shinmu held onto the Great Source Dragon Pill and stepped into the training grounds. Along the way, many people from the Shi clan residence pointed at him. Obviously, they were very surprised by Kong Shinmu's performance in the clan martial competition. Some people admired him, while others disdained him. They felt that Kong Shinmu was only able to win because of the help of the Shi clan residents. Kong Shinmu did not care about the gazes of the bystanders at all. He stepped into the training grounds, consumed the Great Source Dragon Pill, and began to concentrate on cultivating. The Great Source Dragon Pill's medicinal properties were extremely rich and dense. As soon as it entered his stomach, it immediately transformed into the purest spiritual energy and fused into his limbs and bones. Furthermore, this dense spiritual energy was even improving his muscles, bones, and blood vessels. As expected of the reward given by the Dragon King, there's only one pill every 3 years. As soon as Kong Shinmu consumed the Great Source Dragon Pill, he felt a different kind of power. This was different from the treasures like the Qitian spirit grass that he had consumed previously. The Great Source Dragon Pill was refined specifically for dragon martial artists to improve. Not to mention dragon martial artists of the divine martial realm. Even dragon martial artists of the Nirvana Tribulation realm might be able to improve by 1 realm. Needless to say, Kong Shinmu directly absorbed the medicinal properties contained in the Great Source Dragon Pill through his devouring power. Not a single drop would be wasted, and his consumption efficiency was much higher than that of other dragon martial artists. Devour. Kong Shinmu enveloped the Great Source Dragon Pill with his devouring power, directly absorbing the medicinal properties of the pill into his body. This nourished his muscles, bones, and blood vessels, and a feeling of gradual improvement spread throughout his body. His body, which had cultivated the Grade 4 Dragon Martial technique, had already become as tough as an iron wall. Now that the Grand Source Dragon Pill had boosted his strength, his body had become even tougher. The purple demonic crystal was faintly discernible as it flickered with a star-like brilliance, giving off a crystalline feeling. At the same time, the medicinal properties of the Great Source Dragon Pill seeped into Kong Shinmu's limbs and bones, increasing his devouring power bit by bit. He could feel that his strength had increased, and his devouring power had become more majestic, like a surging river. Not long after, he had reached the bottleneck and stepped into the door of the 3rd grade of the divine martial realm. However, perhaps due to the fact that he had consecutively crossed 2 levels during the clan tournament, he was unable to break through the bottleneck now. Alright, I'll consolidate it first. Kong Shinmu thought to himself. After absorbing all the medicinal properties, he did not attempt to break through the bottleneck of the 3rd grade of the divine martial realm. Instead, he focused on consolidating the previous 2 levels so that his foundation would be more solid. He felt that he could succeed in breaking through to the 3rd grade of the divine martial realm now, but there was no need for it. It would be more beneficial for him in the future if he strengthened his foundation. In this clan tournament, my sky-piercing dragon shadow, sky-roaring dragon claw, and Shadow Dragon Feng transformation have all reached the dragon level. It can be said to be a transformation. Next, perhaps I can try to upgrade the demonic crystal body refining dragon martial technique to the heaven realm. If the difference between the earth realm and the dragon realm is huge, then the difference between the dragon realm and the heaven realm is like a chasm. After comprehending the heaven realm dragon martial technique, a dragon martial artist of the same realm would definitely not be able to withstand it. Kong Shinmu's face lit up. His demonic crystal had helped him block countless deadly attacks, allowing him to fully display his devouring power. Chapter 3988. The Great Source Dragon Elixir's medicinal power was completely absorbed by Kong Shinmu. Although he did not make a breakthrough in his cultivation level, he had consolidated his strength from his previous breakthroughs. He had also reached the bottleneck of the 3rd tier of the God Martial Realm. As long as there was an opportunity, He could break through the bottleneck and step into the third tier of the god martial realm. 3 days later, he came out of the cultivation room. His entire body was different from before. His eyes were shining brightly. This was a natural change after his cultivation level had increased. Xueqi had just arrived at the cultivation room. Her eyes lit up as she saw him. There was a hint of joy in her beautiful eyes. It seems that your cultivation level has been consolidated well. My father also said that if you were to break through directly, your cultivation level would be unstable. It would be detrimental to your future cultivation. Thank you for the trouble. Kong Xinmu smiled and nodded. He was in a good mood because he could finally return to Zhongrong's Dragon City and ask Zhongrong about his father's whereabouts. As for raising the body-refining dragon martial skill magic crystal to the heaven level when he had just started cultivating, he could not be in a hurry. Are you going back to the Zhang clan now? Xueqi widened her eyes, which were filled with intelligence. My father said that I should go with you, in case someone tries to sabotage you. Oh. Kong Xinmu was a little surprised, but he immediately nodded. All right, thank you. With Xueqi accompanying him, Zhongrong would not dare to be presumptuous. After all, Xueqi was the daughter of sacred dragon Shi Tao. Her words were a great deterrent to the Zhang clan. At the same time, sacred dragon Shi Tao would not be so at ease. It must be known that the other sacred dragon experts were quite jealous of the Shi clan residents, so it was very likely that they would try to sabotage them. Faced with such a situation, Shi Tao would definitely send people to follow Xueqi in secret to ensure her safety. He could also see if anyone had designs on the Shi clan residents. What are you thanking me for? You saved my sister and my life. This is just a small matter. Xueqi covered her mouth and chuckled. Let's go. Go say goodbye to my father. I don't know how long it will take. It won't be easy to find your father. Yes. Thinking of this, Kong Xinmu also felt a little heavy. His father, Zhang Zizai, was now missing. It would not be easy to find him. The key was that he did not know what had happened to him. What did it have to do with the black dragon in his body? He had to ask Zhongrong about this when he returned. Originally, Kong Xinmu thought that no one knew about Zhang Zizai's disappearance, but he inadvertently heard rumors that Zhongrong seemed to know something about it. This was undoubtedly the only clue he could rely on now. He had to get some information from Zhongrong. Soon, Kong Xinmu and Xueqi bade farewell to divine dragon Shi Tao and transformed into divine dragons that soared above the 9 heavens. They glided through the clouds and headed for Great Zhang Dragon City. The Great Zhang Dragon City was very far from the Dragon Prison City. It would take more than a day to return to the Great Zhang Dragon City from the Dragon Prison City. Midway through the flight, the sky gradually darkened. Kong Xinmu and Xueqi landed in a small city. This small city was quite far from Dragon Prison City. It had a large population, but most of them were not dragon martial artists. Only a few of the city guards were awakened dragon martial artists. Their cultivation levels were not high, and their main job was to deal with the occasional demonic beasts. If a demonic beast that was too strong appeared, this small city could only ask for help from Dragon Prison City. Of course, within the boundaries of Dragon Prison City, demonic beasts would rarely cause trouble on a large scale and attack human cities. After all, the demonic beasts knew very well that if they did not cause any trouble, they could live for a while longer. Once they were noticed by Dragon Prison City, they would immediately be dead. Kong Xinmu and Xueqi returned to their human forms and landed outside the city. They took a random carriage and entered the city without alerting anyone. After all, they did not want to attract too much attention. They only wanted to stay for one night and leave. However, even if they did not transform into dragons, their essence, energy, and spirit were very different from ordinary people. They looked much more spirited. If Xueqi had not intentionally changed into a low-key light-colored outfit, she would have attracted the attention of many youngsters along the way. All right, I haven't thanked you for letting me devour a portion of the 5 extreme mysterious ice energy. Kong Xinmu suddenly thought of something. During the clan martial competition, if not for that portion of the 5 extreme mysterious ice energy, he would have already lost midway. It would have been impossible for him to reach the final stage where he fought with Meng Cho. Is this power very useful to you? If you need it, you can come to my room tonight and absorb a bit more. I can recover by myself anyway. Xueqi laughed softly. Then I'll have to trouble you. Kong Shinmu nodded. After the previous battle, a lot of the 5 extreme mysterious ice energy in his body had been consumed. This was a type of power that he could use. Normally, devouring a bit more of it in his body might play a crucial role at a crucial moment. Therefore, towards Shi Weiying's invitation, Kong Shinmu did not stand on ceremony. After all, the two of them could be considered to be rather familiar with each other. The two of them boarded the carriage and quickly entered the small city. Above the city gate, there were 2 words, Kindred Mountain. This was the name of the small city. There were millions of people, but there were less than 1,000 dragon warriors. It was a very ordinary commoner city in the dragon prison city. Kong Shinmu and Shi Weiying were going to stay in this Kindred Mountain city for a night. However, on the way, the two of them felt that something was not quite right. Do you feel that the aura of the demonic beasts nearby is very dense? Kong Shinmu asked Shi Weiying softly. Shi Weiying shook her head, a little puzzled. I don't feel it. Hearing this, Kong Shinmu frowned. Perhaps it was because he had fought with demonic beasts many times, but now he was more sensitive to the aura of demonic beasts. Moreover, the mysterious black dragon's blood essence in his body was also more sensitive to the aura of demonic beasts. So right now, the others didn't feel anything. Only Kong Shinmu felt that there seemed to be demonic beasts gathering in the vicinity of this Kindred Mountain city. This situation was a little off. Before, Kong Shinmu had only sensed it in places like Dragonbone Valley. Logically speaking, a place like Kindred Mountain City shouldn't have so many demonic beasts gathering. I'm afraid that something will happen tonight. Kong Shinmu thought for a moment, then said to Shi Weiying, let's write a letter to Dragon Prison City and have Senior Shi prepare to send people over. There's definitely a problem here. All right. Shi Weiying's pretty face grew solemn as well. Although she didn't feel anything towards the demonic beast aura Kong Shinmu spoke of, she trusted Kong Shinmu's senses. She knew that Kong Shinmu wouldn't speak without thinking. Since he said there was a problem, then there was definitely a problem with this place. Chapter 3989. Kong Shinmu and Shi Weiying quickly found an inn in Laozhan City to stay. Then, Shi Weiying wrote a letter and got a pigeon to send it to Dragon Prison City to inform her father, Sacred Dragon Shi Tao. When Kong Shinmu stayed in Laozhan City, he felt that the aura of the monstrous beasts had weakened significantly. However, he knew that it was because they had entered the city. The aura of the monstrous beasts outside the city was probably getting stronger. After all, he had felt it along the way. It is also the responsibility of the Sacred Dragon residents to quell the chaos. The Dragon King will also rank the Sacred Dragon residents based on merit and reward each Sacred Dragon residence. Shi Weiying explained to Kong Shinmu in the room, if a city in the Dragon Prison domain is ruined because of the monstrous beasts, all the Sacred Dragon residences will be punished. Therefore, we have to predict the enemy's moves and inform my father in advance. It is beneficial for our Shi residents. Yes. Kong Shinmu nodded, indicating that he understood. It was just like in the vicinity of the Great Jiang Dragon City, which was the area under the jurisdiction of the Jiang tribe. The villages and small cities were similarly protected by the Great Jiang Dragon City. Once there was a monster beast invasion, the dragon warriors would be dispatched to deal with the monster beasts. Let's absorb the power of 5 extreme mysterious ice first. Shi Weiying chuckled and pulled Kong Shinmu into her room. The two of them had nothing to do now, so they might as well take the opportunity to improve themselves. If anything happened later, it would be useful at a critical moment. Kong Shinmu also wrote a letter to the city lord's residents. As for whether they believed it or not, it had nothing to do with Kong Shinmu. Soon, Kong Shinmu and Shi Weiying in the inn began to cultivate together. Kong Shinmu began to devour the power of 5 extreme mysterious ice in the girl's body. He absorbed the mysterious ice talent power into his body, strengthening his resistance to the power of ice. He could also use this power at a critical moment. The city lord's mansion of Empty Mang City soon received an alert from Kong Shinmu. The city lord was not careless. After receiving the letter, he sent people out of the city to patrol the mountains outside the city. In the end, the city lord and the others in the city lord's mansion waited until the sky turned completely dark, but the patrollers still hadn't returned. They immediately knew the seriousness of the matter. Immediately, the entire Mt. Mang City was under martial law, and the city gates were closed. At the same time, the dragon seal array, created by the dragon martial artist to protect the entire city, was ready to be activated at any time. This dragon seal formation was created by a powerful dragon warrior of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. At a critical moment, it could be activated by fusing certain crystal materials into it. It could protect the entire city, and when the demon beasts attacked, this method was the most effective. After all, once the demonic beasts attacked, it would definitely not be a small-scale attack. With the dragon warriors in Mt. Mang City, it was absolutely impossible to clean up the dragon warriors outside. Late at night, following the howl of a night wolf outside Mt. Mang City, the entire Mt. Mang City was in a scarlet tremble. The city lord's mansion sent out an announcement, telling everyone not to go out. The only 100 dragon warriors in the city appeared on the city walls, all of them ready to fight. Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying didn't stay idle either. They prepared to leave the inn together and head to the city gates to help. The dragon warriors shared a common enemy. Under these circumstances, the two of them going out to fight the demon beasts was an unavoidable duty. Moreover, this was a very good opportunity to gain experience. For Kong Shinmu, he couldn't miss it. Inside the inn, many of the guests were hiding in their rooms. Even the innkeeper and the lady boss didn't appear. It was rare for the demon beasts to attack on a large scale. However, when it did, it would cause heavy losses to ordinary people. If it wasn't handled properly, corpses would be everywhere. Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying went out and found the hundreds of dragon warriors on the city walls, wanting to join them. The leader of the dragon warrior guards of Mt. Mang City was a handsome young man dressed in silver armor. At this moment, he stood on the city walls, looking outside the city walls, only to see the scarlet demon wolves that covered the mountains and plains charging towards them at high speed. These scarlet demon wolves are all ordinary demon beasts, equivalent to the dragon warriors with the blood essence of ordinary dragons. There are 1 or 2 heavenly demon leaders among them. We can deal with them for the time being. The handsome young guard leader ordered, "All of you, go down and kill these scarlet demon wolves." On this side of the city walls, there were a total of 22 dragon warriors. However, after Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying ran over, there were a total of 24 people. It's actually people from the Xia clan mansion. Shi Yueying's expression changed when she saw the guard leader. She lowered her voice and said to Kong Shinmu, "This is Sacred Dragon Xia Yan's subordinate. His armor has the Xia clan mansion's insignia. When we fight later, we have to be careful of his tricks." It wasn't that Shi Yueying was a petty person, but when the guard leader saw Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying, his eyes immediately flashed with surprise and killing intent. Obviously, this guard leader recognized Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying and was very hostile towards them. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" The guard leader in silver armor immediately shouted at Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying, pretending not to know them, as if he wanted Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying to relax their vigilance. Unfortunately, when he saw the two of them, Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying had already noticed it. No matter what he said, the two of them would be extremely careful. "We are dragon warriors who are temporarily staying in the city. We heard that there are demon beasts attacking at night, so we came to help. If you need us, we can fight at any time," Kong Shinmu said indifferently and stepped onto the city wall. He looked outside the city wall and saw that the roads and mountains outside the city were already covered in scarlet red. One after another, scarlet wolves formed a wave and rushed towards Laozhan City. The dragon seal formation in the city had not been activated because no powerful demon beasts had appeared yet. Although the number of scarlet wolves below was not small, they were not strong enough. With Kong Shinmu's strength, no matter how many scarlet wolves there were, he could kill them all by himself. "Thank you, both of you." The silver-armored guard leader smiled, but his smile contained killing intent. He said, "The scarlet demon wolves are attacking, and we need manpower right now. Let's go, let's slaughter these beasts together." After he said this, the surrounding dragon warrior guards all cheered in an imposing manner. In the next moment, many of the dragon warriors transformed into dragons. A total of 24 dragons of various colors appeared above Laozhan City. Chapter 3990. Mdamang City was under attack from the scarlet demon wolves in all directions. No one knew where these scarlet demon wolves came from, but there were simply too many of them to count. There were a total of 80 or 90 dragon warriors guarding Hmang City. But in the face of this situation, the dragon warriors who had been hiding in the city temporarily joined the fight against the demon beasts. Even on Kong Shinmu's side, there were 22 people at the beginning, but after he and Shi Yueying joined, there were 24 people. Then, another 4 dragon warriors rushed over and joined in the hunt for demon beasts. Xia Yundu, haha, we meet again. This time, let's deal with these demon beasts. A violent dragon warrior, who had transformed into a giant rock divine dragon, rushed to the side of the silver-armored guard leader and greeted him. The leader of the guards, Xia Yundu, was a member of the Xia clan mansion. Although he did not have much of a relationship with sacred dragon Xia Yan, he had always wanted to rely on some merit to go to the Xia clan mansion and enter a higher level. Now that he had met Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying, it was an opportunity for him. Xia Yundu transformed into a flame divine dragon. As he soared, flames danced around him, and the sky was filled with flaming tongues. When the violent rock divine dragon warrior approached to greet him, he smiled and said, "Good, Yu Linfeng, I didn't expect you to also be in Hmang City. Why didn't you come to catch up with me? Now, we can only hunt these scarlet demon wolves first. We'll talk after we're done." Kill. The giant rock divine dragon called Yu Linfeng suddenly roared and took the lead to dive out of the city gate. At the same time, he condensed the giant rock talent power in his body, forming many giant rock divine mountains in the air. Then, he crashed down on the scarlet demon wolves that were about to reach the city wall. Yu Linfeng, like Xia Yundu, was a dragon warrior at the 5th level of the god martial realm. Compared to these scarlet demon wolves, his realm was much higher. These giant rock mountains exploded, instantly smashing hundreds of scarlet demon wolves to death. These scarlet demon wolves were equivalent to dragon warriors with ordinary dragon blood. Moreover, each of them was only at the dragon ascension boundary, which was a far cry from the divine martial boundary. In this world, after a dragon martial artist stepped into the divine martial arts realm, his talent would rise steadily. A dragon warrior at the 5th level of the divine martial realm had an innate power that could break mountains and crush rocks. Dealing with these trifling dragon ascension realm beasts was a piece of cake for him. Every move he made could kill hundreds of beasts. After Yu Linfeng made his move, the other dragon martial artists did not remain idle. The raging flame divine dragon that Xia Yundu had transformed into used a grade 5 dragon martial technique, explosive flames heavenly rage. In an instant, meteors condensed in the air and smashed towards the ground. Flames exploded and spread, instantly killing over 100 scarlet demon wolves. Unfortunately, there were millions of scarlet demon wolves that covered the mountains, and merely annihilating 100 in an instant wouldn't affect the overall situation at all. Yu Linfeng and Xia Yun had just used Divine Boulder Mountain and Explosive Flames Heavenly Fury, so it was impossible for them to keep using this kind of dragon martial technique. Their innate power was limited, so it was very difficult for them to fight for a long time. Some of the more intelligent dragon martial artists didn't use their talents. Instead, they relied on their divine dragon physical bodies, the 300-foot-tall body of the inheritor of the true dragon blood essence. They charged towards the pack of scarlet demon wolves below. With their claws and fangs, they could still kill many scarlet demon wolves. And these scarlet demon wolves posed no threat to the dragon martial artists. After all, although the dragon martial artists guarding the city did not have high cultivation bases, they were not people that these trifling demon beasts could deal with. These dragon martial artists guarding the city were basically mortal dragon blood essence inheritors, and each of them only had a cultivation base of the dragon ascension realm. Otherwise, they would not have stayed in a place like Hmang City as guards. After all, this place had too few cultivation resources. If they stayed here, it would not be very beneficial to their future development. This was why Xia Yundu had always wanted to leave this place and go to the Xia clan residence in Dragon Prison City. And now that he had encountered Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying, it was his chance. He did not dare to make a move against Shi Yueying, but Kong Shinmu was different. Although he was only an inheritor of the true dragon blood essence at the 5th level of the divine martial realm, with the help of Yu Linfeng, his strength had doubled. Adding on to the sneak attack from behind, he would definitely be able to kill Kong Shinmu in one fell swoop. Of course, he had only heard that Kong Shinmu had obtained first place in the clan martial competition, but he did not know how strong Kong Shinmu was. If he had such an idea, he would only be disappointed in the end. The dragon martial artists rushed down the city gate. Kong Xinmu and Shi Yueying were not idle either. First was Shi Yueying, who had transformed into an ice divine dragon. Her entire body was surrounded by the 5 extreme mysterious ice power, and waves of cold air naturally spread out in all directions. She did not need to use any methods. As long as she flew around the pack of scarlet demon wolves, she would be able to freeze all of them. Then, with a light wave of her dragon claws, she would turn these scarlet demon wolves into pieces of ice. This was the special power of the 5 extreme mysterious ice power. It was not something an ordinary ice attribute talent could compare to. Although she had only inherited the true dragon blood essence and had just broken through to the divine martial realm not long ago, the number of scarlet demon wolves she had killed was a little more than Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng. Furthermore, she did not consume any experience points in the process of hunting. This scene caused many of the surrounding dragon martial artists to be surprised. They did not expect that this seemingly cold girl was actually so cold. She was actually able to freeze these scarlet demon wolves with just her talent and without using any dragon martial skills. Then she could easily kill them. Facing these ant-like scarlet demon wolves, Kong Xinmu did not have so many scruples. After all, he did not need to worry about exhausting his strength the most. He transformed into a black dragon that was hundreds of feet long. In the next moment, he rushed to the front of everyone and activated the 3rd-grade dragon martial skill, Shadow Dragon Teeth. In the next moment, countless shadow dragon teeth poured down from the sky like raindrops. Every shadow dragon tooth could penetrate the body of a scarlet demon wolf and then explode in their bodies. The explosion created a pitch-black vortex that swallowed some of the nearby scarlet demon wolves, completely crushing and killing them. With the shadow dragon teeth, Kong Xinmu killed thousands of scarlet demon wolves in an instant, leaving a large empty space on the mountain top. The blood of the scarlet demon wolves stained the ground. This scene shocked the other dragon martial artists. They did not expect that this inconspicuous kid would actually have such terrifying strength. Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng, however, did not think much of it. This is a protracted battle. Using this kind of dragon martial skill right from the start is simply courting death. I'm afraid this kid will soon exhaust his strength. The two of them looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. Chapter 3991. Although Kong Xinmu and Shi Yueying were hunting scarlet wolves separately, they still looked out for each other. Once the other was in danger, they could rush over as fast as they could. Of course, the scarlet wolves attacking Laozhan City were not a threat to them. They were mainly focused on the 2 dragon warriors, Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng. To them, these 2 dragon warriors were the greatest threat. They might stab them in the back at any time. While watching the two, Kong Xinmu and Shi Yueying tried their best to kill as many scarlet wolves as possible. Although killing these scarlet demon wolves wouldn't bring them any benefits, they could still hone their combat skills. Training in a pack of wolves was still very helpful for honing one's combat skills. I'll deal with this sky demon. Jiang Shenwu quickly fixed his eyes on a heavenly demon scarlet demon wolf that was equivalent to the divine martial realm. This scarlet demon wolf was more than 10 feet tall and 20 to 30 feet long. Its strength was similar to that of a heavenly dragon realm dragon martial artist. Its eyes were red as it commanded the surrounding scarlet wolves to attack Laozhan City. However, it did not move and stood proudly on top of a mountain. Even Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng didn't dare to rashly attack this sky-face scarlet demon wolf. After all, they were dragon warriors who had inherited the essence blood of a true dragon. Compared to a sky fae, they were a level lower. Most importantly, there were too many ordinary scarlet wolves around. If they did not get rid of these scarlet wolves, Hua Yundu would not dare to rashly fight a sky demon scarlet wolf. Once he was stalled, only death awaited him. Just now, Hua Yundu was still rejoicing that this scarlet wolf did not attack with the wolf pack. Instead, it stayed on the mountain. This made him heave a sigh of relief. Otherwise, as the captain of Laozhan City's guards, he could only brace himself and fight. In the end, he would not be able to defeat it and could only retreat into the city and activate the dragon seal array. In that case, he would not be able to take advantage of the chaos to kill Kong Xinmu. Now that Kong Xinmu had transformed into a black dragon and was charging towards the sky demon, Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng, who had already understood his intentions, were overjoyed. This guy was fighting the scarlet demon wolf, which was equivalent to giving them a chance. They could take this opportunity to kill both Kong Xinmu and the scarlet demon wolf. This scarlet demon wolf should be the leader of this pack of wolves. As long as we kill it, this wave of wolves will definitely retreat. Hua Yundu whispered to Yu Linfeng, let's find an opportunity to capture the scarlet demon wolf and that kid in one fell swoop. They were old friends and had fought side by side many times. There was no need to say much now. They could understand many things, so Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng focused their attention on Kong Xinmu and the scarlet demon wolf. Of course, their subordinates did not stop to kill the ordinary scarlet demon wolves. Instead, they continued to fight bravely and pretended to support Kong Xinmu. The distance between them and Kong Xinmu and the scarlet demon wolf slowly closed. Soon, Kong Xinmu had transformed into a black dragon and approached the scarlet demon wolf on the mountain top. After all, Kong Xinmu was hundreds of feet long and was the inheritor of the sky dragon blood essence. Although his level was similar to the scarlet demon wolf, the visual effect was different. In terms of size, the black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into was more than 3 times the size of the scarlet demon wolf. The scarlet demon wolf had long noticed Kong Xinmu's existence. It seemed to have an instinctive fear of Kong Xinmu's arrival. It howled fiercely at Kong Xinmu. In the next moment, several scarlet demon wolves around it surrounded Kong Xinmu. Under the stain of blood, these scarlet demon wolves stepped into the air and launched a fierce attack on Kong Xinmu. Scarlet demon wolves constantly pounced on Kong Xinmu. Several earth demon scarlet demon wolves pounced on the back of the black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into, and then began to tear at Kong Xinmu with their sharp claws. Unfortunately, the purple magic crystal on the surface of Kong Xinmu's dragon body made these scarlet demon wolves unable to do anything to Kong Xinmu. On the contrary, Kong Xinmu's devouring power roared out, and the pitch-black power immediately swallowed these scarlet demon wolves. Before long, their flesh, blood, and life essence were completely devoured and turned into the power in Kong Xinmu's body, replenishing the power that he had just consumed. These scarlet demon wolves were too weak. Basically, they were only equivalent to the peak of the Dragon Ascension realm. Compared with the current Kong Xinmu, the difference was too great. It should be known that when Kong Xinmu was at the peak of the Dragon Ascension realm, he could defeat a dragon martial artist at the second tier of the God Martial realm. Now that he had become a dragon martial artist at the second tier of the God Martial realm, he could completely defeat an opponent at the fourth tier of the God Martial realm. And even the sky demon scarlet demon wolf in front of him was only equivalent to the strength of a dragon martial artist at the fourth tier of the God Martial realm. For Kong Xinmu, it was not a threat at all. Kill! Without any hesitation, Kong Xinmu swallowed the several earth demon scarlet demon wolves with his devouring power, and then flew toward the sky demon scarlet demon wolf. Halberd of Heavenly Saint, fall. Kong Xinmu's whole body emitted a golden light, and the halberd of Heavenly Saint directly turned into a golden halberd light, like a sharp arrow falling from the sky, enveloping the sky demon scarlet demon wolf. Surrounded by a bloody light, the sky demon scarlet demon wolf's eyes showed an aura of facing death calmly. The next moment, it suddenly pounced toward Kong Xinmu. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Kong Xinmu and slashed its sharp claws at his heart. Unfortunately, Kong Xinmu's speed was faster than it. Void-breaking dragon shadow. Without any hesitation, Kong Xinmu directly displayed the dragon martial technique, leaving only an afterimage on the spot, and the whole black dragon disappeared from the scene. When he appeared again, he was already behind the heavenly scarlet demon wolf. Then, the Nether Shadow Dragon Fang Transformation's Grade 3 Dragon Martial Technique erupted. Countless Nether Shadow Dragon teeth howled out, instantly enveloping the heavenly scarlet demon wolf within. The penetrating power of the Shadow Dragon teeth was extremely terrifying, and it was not something that the Sky Demon Scarlet Demon Wolf could resist. Therefore at this time, before Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng could react, the Sky Demon Scarlet Demon Wolf had already been killed by Kong Xinmu, causing everyone present to be stunned. How is this possible? So fast. Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng were momentarily dumbfounded. They did not expect that Kong Xinmu could deal with a Sky Demon Scarlet Demon Wolf so easily. In just a few moves, he had killed it. Chapter 3992. Not only Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng, even Shi Yueying was shocked. Kong Xinmu, who had taken the Great Source Dragon Pellet to consolidate the strength in his body, seemed to have become even stronger than when he was in the finals of the clan martial competition. Facing this sky demon, he actually killed it so easily. One had to know that the strength of the sky demon was about the same as Ji Yuan and Zhang Feng. In the end, it was not even a match for Kong Xinmu. As for the other dragon warriors, they were even more surprised. They did not expect this kid to be so powerful. Originally, when they saw that Kong Xinmu was so young, they did not take him seriously. They did not expect that the battle prowess that this kid had displayed was actually the strongest among them. This is going to be difficult. Hua Yundo and Yu Linfeng's faces darkened. It could be said that it was extremely difficult for them to deal with Kong Xinmu now. On one hand, the battle prowess that Kong Xinmu had displayed had far exceeded their expectations. On the other hand, the Sky Demon's Scarlet Demon Wolf was already dead. The wolf pack wouldn't retreat just like that, right? If the wolf pack retreated and the demon beasts no longer attacked Laozhan City, then Hua Yundo would lose the chance to deal with Kong Xinmu. After all, it was impossible for him to openly attack Kong Xinmu, so he could only take advantage of the chaos. However, if the Scarlet Demon Wolf retreated, then there would be no chance, and his idea of making a contribution would be completely ruined. However, something that made him happy happened. The numerous Scarlet Demon Wolves that were originally controlled by the Sky Demon's Scarlet Demon Wolf did not retreat because of the death of the Sky Demon. Instead, their eyes turned red as they crazily attacked Laozhan City, as if they had been provoked by something. This caused many of the dragon warriors to be confused. Even Kong Xinmu was a little surprised. Originally, he thought that once the Sky Demon died, the group of Scarlet Demon Wolves would retreat. He did not expect that they would actually become even more intense. Something's wrong. Kong Xinmu keenly sensed that something was wrong. Shi Yueying, these Scarlet Fiend Wolves are different from ordinary demonic beasts. Ordinary demonic beasts cherish their own lives and would never send themselves to death for no reason. However, the behavior of this group of Scarlet Demon Wolves seems to be controlled by something. They don't care about life and death at all. I just don't know what their purpose is. Kong Xinmu returned to the side of the ice divine dragon that Shi Yueying had transformed into and said softly in a low voice. That heavenly Fae is definitely not the leader of this group of Fae beasts. At most, he can only be considered a small leader. There must be some secret behind this Fae beast attack. Shi Yueying also nodded solemnly. She agreed with Kong Xinmu's statement. There was definitely a stronger existence controlling the Scarlet Demon Wolves behind the beasts. Otherwise, such a thing would never have happened. Moreover, Kong Xinmu's considerations were correct. He didn't know what the Scarlet Demon Wolves' goal was. It would be much easier if they knew their target. Awoo! At this moment, from the mountains not far away, two fierce wolf howls suddenly sounded. Then, two Scarlet Demon Wolves leaped out of the mountains and suddenly pounced on the black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into. Be careful. Shi Yueying was beside Kong Xinmu. She subconsciously turned her body sideways and blocked in front of the black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into. The 5 elements mysterious ice instantly turned into an ice barrier. Unfortunately, the two Scarlet Demon Wolves that suddenly appeared were heavenly Fae beasts. They were extremely strong and were equivalent to the 5th tier of the Divine Martial Realm. They were a level stronger than the Sky Fae Scarlet Demon Wolf just now. Ha! The black dragon that Kong Xinmu had transformed into erupted instantly. The devouring power formed a devouring vortex that enveloped Shi Yueying's ice divine dragon and protected it. Then, the heavenly sacred halberd instantly fused with his body. The golden heavenly sacred light instantly lit up the entire night sky. Shadow Dragon Feng Transformation. Kong Xinmu and the heavenly sacred halberd could now fuse at will. With the threat of the mysterious black dragon's consciousness, the heavenly sacred halberd didn't dare to disobey. Moreover, it felt that Kong Xinmu's talent was indeed good. He could fully exert its full strength after the fusion. The golden holy light erupted and condensed together with a devouring power into golden and black dragon teeth that burst out in all directions. Before anyone could react, the two Sky Fae Scarlet Demon Wolves were surrounded by the Shadow Dragon teeth. Even though they urged the power of blood to resist Kong Xinmu's attack, they couldn't stop the terrifying penetration of the Shadow Dragon teeth. The Shadow Dragon teeth instantly broke through the defense of the two Sky Fae Scarlet Demon Wolves, and then the devouring power mixed with the golden holy light corroded into the bodies of the Scarlet Demon Wolves and began to devour their flesh and blood essence. However, this didn't make the two Scarlet Demon Wolves retreat. They didn't realize the seriousness of the devouring power's corrosion and still pounced on Kong Shinmu. Finally, they drilled into the devouring vortex and grabbed the ice divine dragon that Xueqi had transformed into. Be careful. Jiang Shenwu's deep voice rang out as he pulled Xueqi back to his side. The purple magic crystal directly condensed in mid-air and formed a purple defensive barrier. Now, Kong Shinmu's devouring power could completely condense into magic crystals and use them as a defense against the dragon martial skill. The Sky Face Scarlet Demon Wolf was directly blocked by Kong Shinmu's devouring power. The purple magic crystal barrier blocked its path of attack, and at the same time, the devouring power continued to wreak havoc in its body. It didn't take long for a small portion of its flesh and blood essence to be devoured, making it quite weak. The other Sky Face Scarlet Demon Wolf was in a similar situation. It was instantly weakened by the devouring power and didn't have enough strength to fight against Kong Shinmu. However, they didn't retreat at all and continued to attack Kong Shinmu. Unfortunately, they couldn't threaten Kong Shinmu and Xueqi at all. Another two Sky Fae. Hua Yundu and Yu Linfeng both gulped. They didn't think that there would be such a terrifying demonic beast hidden in the wilderness. If they had rushed forward rashly, they would have already been killed by the Scarlet Demon Wolf. However, the situation now was not right. Although they had killed a large number of Scarlet Demon Wolves, and the corpses outside the city were piled up like mountains and blood flowed like rivers, there were still more and more Scarlet Demon Wolves coming from the surrounding wilderness. Moreover, the strength of these Scarlet Demon Wolves seemed to be a level higher than before. What the hell is going on? How can there be so many Scarlet Demon Wolves in the mountains around Mtimang City? Hua Yundu's expression changed drastically. He couldn't figure out the current situation. Chapter 3993. No matter what, it was an unchangeable fact that so many Scarlet Demon Wolves had appeared near Mtimang City. Xia Yundu looked at Kong Shinmu, who was fighting the Scarlet Demon Wolves, and Xueqi, who was being protected by him. He immediately gulped. How is this kid so powerful? Is this the strength of the martial clan gathering's champion? Xia Yundu's expression was somewhat unsightly. He had wanted to take advantage of the chaotic battle to kill Kong Shinmu, but he hadn't expected Kong Shinmu to be so powerful. In this way, there was only one way to kill Kong Shinmu, and that was to hope that these Scarlet Demon Wolves could seriously injure Kong Shinmu. Otherwise, even if Kong Shinmu and the Scarlet Demon Wolves were tangled together, Xia Yundu and Yu Linfeng wouldn't dare to attack Kong Shinmu. After all, Kong Shinmu was much stronger than them. He could kill them with a casual move. Under the effect of Kong Shinmu's devouring power, the two Scarlet Demon Wolves that had suddenly charged out quickly lost most of their fighting strength. Their flesh and blood essence were completely devoured by Kong Shinmu. Following that, countless shadow dragon fangs descended from the sky, riddling the two Scarlet Demon Wolves with holes. Fresh blood gushed out, dyeing the entire mountain red. Stay behind me and don't rush to the front for now. After Kong Shinmu finished speaking to Xueqi, his black dragon eyes reflected more and more Scarlet Demon Wolves. These Scarlet Demon Wolves came out of nowhere and surged out from the depths of the forest. Among them, more and more Scarlet Demon Wolves appeared. These Scarlet Demon Wolf heavenly demons were each stronger than the last. Slowly, a heavenly demon Scarlet Demon Wolf equivalent to the 6th level of the divine martial realm appeared. Kong Shinmu successively killed 4 Scarlet Demon Wolves equivalent to the 5th level of the god martial realm and devoured their flesh and blood essence with his devouring power. Under such circumstances, Kong Shinmu had a certain resistance to the Scarlet Demon Wolf's blood power. Very good. Now, even if I have to face this level 6 divine martial arts Scarlet Demon Wolf, I can still try to fight it. Jiang Shenwu thought to himself. He did not retreat in the slightest. Instead, under the astonished gazes of the other dragon warriors, he took the initiative to fly towards the Scarlet Demon Wolf that had just appeared from the forest. This Scarlet Demon Wolf was more than 20 zhang tall and 50 zhang long. It was a true colossus. Although it couldn't compare to Kong Shinmu's black dragon body, it was already much more powerful than the surrounding Scarlet Demon Wolves. Without any hesitation, Kong Shinmu roared and flew forward. His devouring power fused with the heavenly sacred halberd's golden light, causing his body to emitted a golden holy light. In the next moment, countless golden halberds descended from the sky and slammed into the Scarlet Demon Wolf Sky Demon. The scarlet demon wolf had just emerged from the forest. It originally had a ferocious nature, but seeing that a dragon warrior dared to attack it, it immediately roared angrily and a bloody light blossomed from its body. The scarlet demon wolf demonic beast's body contained the power of fresh blood. At this moment, it suddenly blossomed and actually filled the sky, forming a rain of fresh blood that clashed with Jiang Shenwu's countless golden halberds. The two forces collided in midair, creating a terrifying energy whirlpool. The heavenly sacred halberd's golden light and the bloody light intertwined in midair, emitting a bloody aura. Jiang Shenwu and this scarlet demon wolf heavenly demon, which was equivalent to the 6th level of the divine martial realm, were locked in a fierce battle. This allowed Xia Yundu and Yu Linfeng, who were watching from the side, to finally find an opportunity. However, the two of them still didn't move. They looked at each other and saw the plan in each other's eyes. Let's go. Without any hesitation, Xia Yundu flew towards the depths of the forest. It seemed like he wanted to kill more scarlet demon wolves, but in truth, he wanted to lure more scarlet demon wolves over for Kong Shinmu to deal with. If Kong Shinmu fought too many of them, he would definitely die. The next moment, he and Yu Linfeng flew past Kong Shinmu's position from two different directions, flying into the depths of the forest. Scarlet demon wolves continued to attack Laozhan City, and the dragon warriors continued to hunt them down. Soon, casualties began to appear. However, Xia Yundu did not care about the casualties of his subordinates. For him, killing Kong Shinmu was his top priority. Nothing else was important. As long as he killed Kong Shinmu, he would definitely be able to obtain some benefits from Xia Yan. It was even possible for him to leave Laozhan City and go to Dragon Prisoner City. Here, there are two scarlet demon wolves. One is at the 5th and the other is at the 6th layer of the divine martial realm. That's enough. Xia Yundu quickly found two scarlet demon wolves resting in the depths of the forest. Then, he directly attacked them, enraging them. Yu Linfeng's side was in a similar situation. Both sides quickly attracted the attention of two scarlet demon wolves each. Pretending that they could not win, they fled towards the vicinity of Laozhan City. Little brother, please help stop these two demon wolves. We are no match for them. Xia Yundu flew back and anxiously shouted at Kong Shinmu. You hold them back for a while. We will quickly return and open Laozhan City's defensive array. Yu Linfeng said the same thing. In an instant, 5 scarlet demon wolves surrounded Kong Shinmu. Humph! Kong Shinmu coldly snorted. He naturally saw through Xia Yundu's intentions. He knew that this person wanted to use this opportunity to get rid of him. But how could Kong Shinmu let him do as he wished? Let's go! The black dragon that Kong Shinmu had transformed into turned and flew towards Laozhan City. He did not hesitate at all. He used the void-tearing dragon shadow that he had cultivated to the dragon realm. The black dragon was like a black shadow that swept through the air. It quickly brought along the beautiful ice divine dragon that Shi Yueying had transformed into and left the battlefield. When the scarlet demon wolves that had been fighting with Kong Shinmu saw this, they wanted to chase and kill him. Unfortunately, they could not catch up to Kong Shinmu's speed. As a result, Xia Yundu and Yu Linfeng were left behind. They became the 5 scarlet demon wolves' first targets. Damn it! Xia Yundu's expression darkened. He had almost immediately guessed that Kong Shinmu had seen through his intentions. This was probably a reminder from Shi Yueying, who was beside Kong Shinmu. Otherwise, Kong Shinmu would not have been able to recognize him. This made him bear a grudge against Shi Yueying. Unfortunately, he didn't have the time to say anything because the scarlet demon wolves were chasing after him. If he was any slower, he would be torn to shreds and thrown into the scarlet demon wolf pack to become meat. Chapter 3994. Kong Shinmu brought Shi Yueying directly back to Mtimang City. He could tell that there were too many scarlet wolves outside Mtimang City. If they stayed any longer, they would likely encounter danger. The most important thing now was to find out where these scarlet wolves had come from. However, this was not something a dragon warrior at Kong Shinmu's level could do. Fortunately, they had informed Dragon Prisoner City in advance. Sacred Dragon Shi Tao must have sent people on the way and would arrive soon. Seeing Kong Shinmu leave the battlefield with Shi Yueying and return to the walls of Mtimang City, The other dragon warriors also flew back into the city under Xia Yundu's lead. This time, no dragon warriors died outside the city. After all, the scarlet wolves that had appeared were only at the Dragon Ascension realm. There were very few Sky Fae. After flying back, the situation at the other city gates was similar. The dragon seal formation in the city began to activate, ready to open. It was clear that the scarlet wolves outside were not something a mere empty Mang city could deal with. Unfortunately, there were people sending letters from the city, trying to inform Dragon Prisoner City. These carrier pigeons were bitten to death by the scarlet wolves halfway. It was impossible to send the news to Dragon Prisoner City. Although the dragon seal formation was activated for defense, the behavior of these scarlet wolves made the expressions of many dragon warriors in empty Mang City darken. They had not expected these scarlet wolves to be organized and have extraordinary intelligence. They knew how to intercept any creature that flew out of Qinshan City, preventing them from spreading the news that Qinshan City was in danger. When this happened, the faces of Xia Yundu, Yu Linfeng, and the other dragon warriors darkened. What's going on with these scarlet wolves? Many dragon warriors stared blankly, not knowing what to do. Xia Yundu and Yu Linfeng were in a bad mood, mainly because they had tried to frame Kong Xinmu but had failed. Instead, they had almost lost their lives. Under the current circumstances, it would not be so easy for them to make a move against Kong Xinmu. With the activation of the Dragon Seal Array in the city, a translucent divine dragon power barrier emerged above the entire empty Mang city, enveloping the entire city. Under the dark night, the countless scarlet wolves around empty Mang city almost dyed the entire mountain and wilderness red. Looking out from the top of the city wall, the scarlet demon wolves that had just been killed and the scarlet demon wolves that were still emerging from the dense forest were joined together. It was impossible to tell which ones were alive and which ones were dead. At the foot of the city wall, countless scarlet demon wolves rushed to attack the city wall. Unfortunately, after the Dragon Seal Array was activated, these scarlet demon wolves couldn't destroy the entire defensive barrier at all. They could only be stopped outside the barrier. Kong Xinmu and Shi Yueying returned to their human forms and stood on the city wall, frowning. I wonder why these scarlet demon wolves are here and where they came from. Shi Yueying racked her brains but couldn't think of anything. I can only wait for the people from Dragon Prison City to arrive. Kong Xinmu shook his head. Right now, he felt that the black dragon aura in his body was showing signs of awakening, as if something had attracted the black dragon's interest. This made him feel a little strange. It seemed that these scarlet demon wolves did not gather here by coincidence. He just didn't know where these scarlet demon wolves came from. If there had been so many scarlet demon wolves outside Empty Mang City, they would have been discovered a long time ago. The key was that there was no warning at all. In one day, so many scarlet demon wolves had gathered. There must be some secrets in the deep mountains and forests outside the city. At this moment, Xia Yundo and Yu Linfeng walked over with their men. You actually escaped just now. You are a disgrace to the dragon martial artists. Xia Yun directly mocked them, not giving them any face at all. You speak as if you didn't escape. Kong Xinmu retorted, causing Xia Yundo to be speechless. However, Yu Linfeng still said gravely, if you had held on a little longer, we might have been able to kill more scarlet demon wolves and carve out a path. It's too late now. We can't even send a message out. If the people from Dragon Prison City don't know what's going on here, we won't have any reinforcements and will only die. That's right. Xia Yundo immediately nodded and said gravely, we only discovered that these scarlet demon wolves would hunt carrier pigeons after we returned. Otherwise, we definitely wouldn't have run back. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding dragon martialists cast their gazes at Jiang Shenwu and Shi Yueying. All of them harbored malicious intentions. Without a doubt, they were now trapped in Laozhan City, and the news could not be sent out. This caused them to feel despair. Furthermore, Xia Yundo and Yu Linfeng's words were very reasonable, causing them to subconsciously feel that this was the truth. If not for Kong Xinmu and Shi Yueying leading the way, they might have escaped in another direction. That way, they might have been able to escape, instead of staying in the city and waiting for death. Although they had the protection of the Dragon Seal formation, they didn't have much hope that the formation could last for long. If they couldn't send a message out, the people from Dragon Prison City would probably have to wait until the next day to discover what was going on. By then, Empty Mang City would have long been breached by the Scarlet Demon Wolves. That's right, it's all your fault. You ran so fast, but now we're all trapped here. For a moment, many dragon martial artists vented their anger on Kong Shinmu and Shi Yueying. This caused the two of them to frown slightly. Kong Shinmu swept his gaze across the crowd and said calmly, Dragon Prison City has already informed Lord Sacred Dragon Shi Tao. There's no need to panic. Just because you said so? You're really lying through your teeth. That's right. Can't you see that not even a fly can fly out of Mpamang City? However, they didn't believe what Kong Shinmu said at all. They all looked at him with resentful gazes. As time passed and reinforcements didn't arrive, this resentment might very well turn into a deeper level of resentment. Shi Yueying also had no way to deal with the situation of these dragon martial artists. She snorted lightly. My father has already sent people on their way. If you don't believe me, there's nothing we can do. In short, all we can do now is wait. Other than waiting, they had no other choice. However, Kong Shinmu didn't intend to keep waiting on the city walls. He pulled Shi Yueying's small hand. Let's go into the city to take a look. There must be something in this city that attracts the Scarlet Demon Wolves. We can look for it first. Okay. Shi Yueying immediately followed. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.